get to safety. So out here, police are still continuing to block this area off. They're not letting many people in because they want to have all control over this area. Guys, we'll go ahead and send it back to you once we figure out what else is going on out here. I can give you any other information.
All right, Elise, we have some new information to report. It's not what we want to, but we have confirmed one person has indeed died. 3 people are in critical condition and 5 are in serious. This is still a fluid scene right now. As we've mentioned, we are surrounded by yellow crime scene tape in what was just an hour ago a celebration of the back-to-back world champions. So this has really taken a somber note, and it's still a very fluid situation here.
And so many law enforcement officers all around the area, EMS crews who are standing by, and I cannot tell you how quickly they jumped into action. It was, you know, you just tell them, thank you, thanks for being here. You make me feel a little bit safer, you know? I mean, they jumped into it, they ran toward danger, and that's what they do, and we appreciate them.
We certainly do, and right now they are gathering. In fact, I see several of my friends on the police force right now just trying to secure the perimeter and trying to figure out what the next plan of action is here at Union Station, where celebration has really taken a turn for the worse here.
And we know deadly. It has turned deadly. Again, yes. 1 dead, 3 in critical condition, 5 serious. We don't know their ages. We don't know the extent of the injuries of those who were injured. Jeon Kim has been, after making sure that the threat was over immediately here where we were hunkered down, she jumped up to do her job, and she went out to go talk to people and see what she could learn. Jeon, we're going to toss things back to you.
Hey guys, we are still at Pershing and Grand, and I think this is where most of the people are being pushed out to. You see people lingering around trying to find rides home. We see, hello?
Keep talking, Gian, come on.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, there's some connectivity issues out here as well. I'm just on my iPhone bringing you all of this as I see it. There's a lot of people just kind of scattered about at Grand and Pershing, and this is where people are calling their Ubers and waiting for their garages to open and trying to find people that were lost, that got separated from them in all of the chaos. I ran into Brian here. Brian, you were there right next to Union Station, but on the other side of the station.
Yeah, so we were just waiting for the crowd to clear. Obviously, there's a ton of people, and not thinking anything of it, I noticed cops just running towards, and I didn't think anything of it. And then out of nowhere, my wife is grabbing our daughter and running. It's like, what's going on? And then I just see everybody run, and that's pretty much that I see. And shooter, and that's everything that happened fast. And we're just hanging out to get our stuff. We just ran as fast as we could to make.
I'm sure your wife and children here just to have a day of celebration and make great memories as a family. What's it like for you to be here now?
Definitely a lot different. We've been to all 3 parades, and obviously this one was a lot different. So, yeah, it was just with my daughter, you know, having to experience that. She was just saying she was feeling a little shaky, but at the same time, she's okay, which, you know, that's all that matters. And, yeah, just unfortunate that this has to happen, and not the best way to end a good celebration.
And I ran into you and your dad waiting out here. You were separated from your things, and you're waiting so that you can go back in there and gather your belongings.
Yeah, a couple strollers that we have, and they told us it might be a few hours, so I guess we're hanging out, and hopefully everything works out for the best, because, yeah, we just wanted to make sure that everything was safe.
So people over things, right? I'm just happy that you and everybody in your family is safe. We will get your things when it's time to get them, but I'm just happy that you're here with us. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, John, thank you so much. And several of the players right now taking to Twitter, including Patrick Mahomes, with the tweet saying, praying for Kansas City. And I think at this hour, we certainly all are after what has taken place. We had crews along the parade route. We had crews here at Union Station with us. And unfortunately, now we have crews outside the ER gathering the latest details from police and fire crews who are still working to secure the scene and to try and figure out exactly what caused all this chaos.
You know, right about now, we were supposed to be bringing you the highlights of today's rally. It was supposed to be the fun moments and the The moments we all cheered about, and instead something much, much different. This day has ended in a way that none of us could have anticipated, or certainly would have hoped it never would have turned. Daniela Leon was also with us on the stage when shots rang out. She's also out there doing her job despite going through moments of absolute panic. Daniela, you're doing a great job. I just wanted to tell you that and see how you're doing out there and who you've had a chance to talk to.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, and I appreciate, Caitlin took a moment to just give me a hug and say, hey, breathe, it's okay. But it definitely was a scary situation when you see cops running from different directions, people jumping barricades. And joining me right now is Monty. You were actually there on by the stage, and you were collecting confetti. Tell us what you saw and what you heard, Monty.
Well, the first thing I saw was Casey Mo's finest jump the barricades, and they were telling everybody to move, move, move. And they went inside the building, and probably 1 to 2 minutes later, everyone started running out of the building, and you could hear people yelling, active shooter, active shooter. At that point, we were picking up confetti on the other side because I kind of followed the police over the edge and picked up confetti with another guy, and they told us to hit the ground, and that was pretty much it. Didn't really hear any gunshots. I was on the east entrance, so, but there were plenty of people running out of the building, so.
And you're right now currently waiting to get your car because it's at Union Station right now. Have you heard any updates as to when you're going to be able to get your vehicle? You're one of many people waiting for an answer on that.
No, we haven't. Obviously, they've got the area secured. You got the FBI here, Casey Mo, Prairie Village, Olathe, got all the police here in force, and everything looks good. They're handling it. I mean, it's just one of those things we got to live with. It's a new world, so.
Has it sunk in at all that this happened? It was such a high. I was interviewing Chiefs fans talking about Valentine's Day. To end like this. Has it sunk in at all?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. We can't live in fear. Fear is a false exaggeration appearing real, and these people are here to handle that, and I think they did a good job today. And I mean, it's just an unfortunate situation. You got some people that were hurt, maybe one fatally, but they're doing a good job. So.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. We appreciate it. All right, guys, there you guys have it. Again, they're still working on clearing out the entire scene. There you can see there's still a lot of Chiefs fans waiting to get into their vehicle right now, and I'm going to send it back to you guys. But before I do that, I do want to tell my friends and family who keep texting me, I am okay, you guys. To my mom, I know she's been calling me, Mom, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Sending it back to you.
We're glad you're safe. If you need to take a breather, by all means, make sure you do so. And as Daniela, to her point, there are still several people who are kind of in limbo because they're waiting to get inside to their vehicles, but their vehicles are now in the midst of what's a crime scene here.
Yeah, you heard that man talking about the stroller, and we told you we have one just to the right of us here recently. And again, we've been catching up on this much as you at home are, scouring various sources and texting with her crews everywhere. And one that Megan Abundis has been on the phone with folks over at University Health, and they said all family members with family taken there are to go to the hospital chapel. That's where we're going to bring people in. So loved ones getting that call they never want to hear. And please excuse us. I mean, some of us are a little emotional, but nothing really prepares you to have a front row seat to something like this.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't. I mean, it's something you can never really prepare yourself for. You and I plan to be out here to, as you mentioned, talk about what a jovial moment this was.
Yeah.
We're going to go back inside Union Station this evening and bring you some of the highlights. And I was going to come out here and talk about cleanup, but this gives it a whole different meaning as you look at the ER right now and families anxiously waiting to hear the news of their loved one after a celebration, something so jovial, something that we have done at least twice before in the last 5 years, has now turned deadly.
We're going to toss things back to Cameron and Dia in the studio. They've been doing a great job keeping us informed out here in the field and stepping in. At one point, we asked if we could take cover when things started getting scary, and they sat in there and so that we could seek cover until the immediate threat had passed. Cameron and Dia.
Caitlin, Kevin, thank you guys so much. In such a tough situation, being able to bring us as much context and information from the scene where you guys have been experiencing this, right along with people who were at the parade and had to go through everything that happened after that shooting.
And the more we hear about this, I just keep getting chills, just hearing about our crew taking cover, then learning about one of the victims, a 15-year-old recovering from being shot and all of this. It's devastating.
We do have some updates to get to. We got information from ATF that there are agents on the scene of this afternoon's shooting, along with multiple other federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. They're assisting the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department right now, doing their best to just really get a handle on what's happened. No doubt question the two armed parties who were detained at that scene.
We're also starting to hear from some of our elected officials, like Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas. He had this statement to share. Today, I join thousands of Chiefs fans who came together to celebrate a great season and honor the Super Bowl victory, which has brought so much joy to our state. I am devastated and angered. It goes on to say, by the senseless act of violence that turned a day of celebration for our community into a complete tragedy. During this chaos, our team thankfully made it to shelter safely. My heart breaks for those who were a victim of this needless violence. I am praying for everyone in the entire KC community, and I think we all are today.
We're going to go to Manny Abarca, who is on the Jackson County Legislature, somebody who's been involved in this city, attended the parade with his daughter, had to shelter in place inside Union Station. Manny, first of all, how are you? How is your daughter?
Well, unfortunately, she believes it's still a drill, and so that is a testament to the reality of society that we live in. But it's shaking. It rocks you at your core, and it's infuriating. So yeah, thanks for checking in.
Manny, talk to us about those moments. Where were you seated during the conclusion of the parade as things were wrapping up, and how did you end up inside Union Station during all of this?
Yeah, thankfully, we were one of the sponsors of Jackson County, and so we were very close to the front of the stage. We entered Union Station on the eastern side of the building. And it was jovial. I mean, the players were there, Coach Reed was there, the Hunt family was there, elected officials were spread across the room. And it wasn't until we saw a sea of people rushing the awnings that we realized something was wrong. And so we made a mad dash into Pierpont and thankfully sheltered in place. But it was a good 20 minutes before we knew anything was happening that we were sitting there with our feet against the door trying to hold back what we may fear would be an intruder trying to break in. So it's time for change.
Manny, you talked about those initial moments. It's somewhat sank in now. What are you feeling like right now? Well,
immediately once I realized that we were saved, I texted our general counsel at Jackson County and said, I want gun reform now. I want legislation Monday. And I know as I left with peers at the state, at the city, we all share that same sentiment. We're trying to get over the reality of we just witnessed and we're a part of an active shooter situation, and we can no longer wait on people. And I'm disappointed to hear Senator Marshall have everything to say, but it's time for gun reform.
You know, Manny, you're a Kansas City kid, right? I mean, grew up on the west side, have been active in this community for a very long time. But on today, you're a dad, man.
Yeah.
You're at the Chiefs parade, lifelong Chiefs fan, trying to bring up the next generation. What is the conversation like between you and your daughter as you're hunkered down for safety?
Draw on my phone, be quiet, whisper. She looked at me and said, thankfully, we're in a restroom because I have to go potty. And I thought, these automatic flushers, that's going to get us. So it's surreal to think about all those different things and to put yourself in that moment. It's life-altering.
Manny Abarca, thank you so much for taking the time during a pretty tough day for the city.
Life-altering. Hearing him say that, it just...
Glad he and his daughter are safe. We're still working to get conditions on those victims that we still are unknown about. We're going to go and bring you some perspective from someone who was there when this happened and who witnessed the shooting and the aftermath as it all unfolded.
It was a loud sound. Like, we definitely heard the shot, but we weren't really sure. Like, it wasn't instantly like, oh, that was a gunshot. Like, it took a second to react.
Yeah, and it definitely sounded kind of like a firework at first, because I was thinking, you know, maybe they were celebrating after everybody went off for the rally, but after everybody, the police came and immediately, like, guarded all of us. So that's when we kind of realized it was a more serious event, and we all just kind of ducked down by the fence while everybody kind of just protected everybody standing by that fence.
There were tons of, like, police officers and troopers and stuff surrounding us right away when it happened.
It was definitely a scary moment. I wasn't expecting something like that for the Chiefs rally, but the police did a good job at making everybody feel safe and comfortable, and like they were protected, so I wasn't as scared as I felt like I would be. So I really appreciate that from them.
Well, we just heard a bunch of, pop, pop, and people started running and scattering, and people, crouching down low, and people saying move back off, and everyone started running, east? And the lady next to me, she has some blood on her calf, so she got grazed. They had a guy behind us drop down to the ground. He pulled a gun out. We don't know exactly what's going on with that. Just a lot of commotion, not sure what's going on and where to go, what to do. They say run, but it's like, where do you run?
It was energetic. The crowd was like live. Everybody was having a great time. And then kind of out of nowhere, we just kind of saw a little bit of confusion or chaos going on in the front. We had a vantage point. And all of a sudden, it was like a scramble of the crowd. We really didn't even hear any shots or anything like that because it was loud. We just saw the crowd and the commotion, and it was like a little mini stampede or something like that.
Any minute now, we're awaiting information and update in the press conference from Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas and Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves. But until then, we're going to get back to our crews there on the scene.
And I think the big question we're all wanting answers for is why. We may not get that answer just yet. It's still so early. But let's head out to reporter Leslie Delaspore. And Leslie, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? Who are you speaking with right now?
Hey Cameron, hey Dia. As everyone has kind of mentioned, this scene here is something that, is almost unimaginable. We were here celebrating a good time, celebrating the Chiefs, and then it turned into chaos. You just heard from these two young ladies a few minutes ago on our air, but we talked to you guys maybe about 15 minutes ago. Tell us your names again, and since we talked, how are you feeling? What's been going through your mind? I know you're pretty shaken up.
My name is Reese Randall. I would say I've had several family members and friends just calling to make sure that I'm okay after seeing pictures that I was nearby the stage, and just seeing that everyone reaches out to you to make sure you're okay, even though they didn't necessarily know that we were really close to where it happened. Just getting those texts and stuff and trying to reply back to everyone makes it a little bit more real, of people just making sure that you're okay. But I would say for sure seeing the amount of police officers, sheriffs, SWAT, FBI, all of that are surrounding to make sure that everyone is okay definitely makes us feel safer. We're still waiting to go back to our cars since it's in a parking garage just to be safer. But just having the amount of people surrounding to make this as safe as they can and detaining people that seem suspicious to protect us definitely makes us feel better about it, even though it's a surreal and shaken up experience.
Yeah, and again, tell us your name again and just kind of, what has your family been saying? How are you feeling from 15 minutes ago when we talked?
Yeah, so my name's Shayla Flowers. Immediately, my dad called me after. The service wasn't great, so he called her because she's part of our family. So to know that within 2 minutes, something like that came out to the news where people were calling and texting and making sure that we were okay was definitely something that made it more real. But even 30, 45 minutes after we left that area, people are still around. Cops are still, making people move, and we're waiting to go to the parking garage. To know that something like that's still going on later, it definitely makes it more real and a more surreal experience. It's definitely emotional. There were people around us, like we said, being more emotional, and being able to comfort them kind of helped us keep our emotions in check a little bit. But to know that there were people that were protecting us, like the police and even father figures, was definitely making us feel a little more comfortable in a situation that you don't expect to happen on a day where, the Chiefs are back-to-back champions, and you come to congratulate them and to have a parade. So it was definitely an experience that we didn't expect to have when we woke up at 6 in the morning this morning.
I see you're getting emotional a little bit. Those tears, are they coming from just a sigh of relief that you're safe, for the fact that this happened? What's kind of going through your mind right now?
I would say just seeing things come out of nowhere. We were just between interviews kind of just sitting there looking at pictures that we had taken from the event and seeing literally 15 minutes before having to walk up this direction and being escorted out, maybe 5-10 minutes before we heard the shot, just literally taking a picture in front of the fenceway that was blocking us from players, and just seeing that we were literally standing right there taking pictures and just having a good time, and something like that can be ended so quickly with something such as an active shooter or even just a threat of that, but being able to hear it just made it even more real for us. And being right there, but again, having people reach out and having police officers around us and people that care about our community to comfort us.
Well, I want to thank you guys for talking with me, and take care of yourselves. Go home, get some rest, and tell your families that, you know, you're okay. So, Dia and Cameron, I want to send it back to you guys and make sure these girls get home safe.
All right, Leslie Dellis reporting for us live there with some people who witnessed this and had to experience it, and some really tense moments there.
Absolutely. You saw one of the girls she was interviewing getting emotional. I think that speaks to what a lot of people are feeling who are right there in the middle of the chaos. We did get an update from one of our hospitals, University Health, about the number of people they are treating. They tell us that they are treating 4 gunshot victims and 8 other individuals who were not shot in the incident.
So this is, again, a very fluid situation. We're getting more information as it unfolds, right? I mean, our hospitals, our first responders are all trying to assess and gather and just bring us the most up-to-date and accurate information, and we're going to work to do the same. So we're going to go ahead and send it out to our crews there live at the scene once again, and I think this time we're going to have Daniela Leon again reporting for us, and you're standing by with someone.
Yeah, that's right. Good evening, guys. I'm sorry, I apologize. I've been here since 4 a.m. Again, this was supposed to be a day of celebration, and it's just still shocking to see how it has turned out. Joining me right now is a mother-daughter duo who are holding each other a little closer right now because of what happened. You guys were so close to it. You guys aren't letting go. Talk to me about what happened. Introduce yourself first and talk to me about what occurred.
My name is Amy. This is my daughter, Michaela. We were down over really close to the situation. We saw people starting to jump over the gates, and then they were telling us to run, but then they said active shooter, and then so we just dropped down to the ground. My daughter tried to climb on top of me to protect me, and I tried to just hold her so nothing would happen to her.
That's a very tough situation. You guys are not letting go. Talk to me about just how scary that was, and the comfort in being safe, both of you right now.
It's very scary. I mean, this is our second situation. I don't know, a while back, about
Highlands Elementary.
8 years ago, we were at work at Highlands Elementary where there was an active shooter across the street, and we had to race all the kids to the gym and, wait for the parents to come and get them. So being with my daughter, making sure she's safe is my #1 priority, and coming down here to celebrate and then on such a sad note. It's devastating.
It's been very hard. Have you guys been able to talk to other family members? I know you guys had a group out here.
Yeah, our cousin and aunt are over there, and then my sister was picking up our babies from the babysitter, and my dad has called us, and he's in Oregon. So we've been talking to people. They've been, I think my cousin had 31 messages asking if we were okay.
And we can't leave because our car is parked in the garage, and they have it closed off as a crime scene. So we can't even leave to go home to be with our family.
And that's what you guys want right now, is just to be with the family. Again, thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your story. Again, this is just the many stories and the many voices that we're giving you guys. Again, still shocking for a lot of people to just come to terms with what occurred here at Union Station. I'm Danielle Leon reporting for KSHB. Back to you.
Daniela, we're going to take over here at Union Station for just a brief moment. We were actually in the prime location for the parade and for the celebration here with the stage behind us, but as of right now, we are in the midst of a crime scene. So Caitlin and I are going to have to regroup. KCPD asking us to leave where we are right now. As I mentioned maybe 20 minutes ago, we're surrounded by the yellow crime scene tape. So as a result, this is still an active scene. Caitlin and I are going to have to regroup to higher ground, and we hope to bring you more reports of what we are seeing and everything to keep you and your family safe and make sure that you guys are reunited with your family and know the latest on this developing situation.
So bear with us as we log off. Again, we don't want to hamper law enforcement's efforts. We want them to be able to do their jobs, and we don't want to get in the way. It's trying to balance that fine line by also giving you the information that you want to know at home too, and understandably so. So we have KCPD standing by to escort us out of this crime scene. It will take us a little while to come back to you live because we were hardwired into the system to bring you the parade, so we don't even have the tool to go immediately live once we get outside of that yellow crime scene tape. So if you don't hear from us, we are okay. We're moving to comply with police requests, and we're going to try to get back up live as soon as we can. In the meantime, we'll try to see if we can learn some new information.
All right, Caitlin, Kevin, thank you very much for that. Here is a live picture for you. We are again awaiting that press conference from Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas and the Chief of Police in Kansas City, Stacey Graves. It looks like they're now testing the microphone to make sure the audio is clear. As soon as they step to that microphone, we will bring you that press conference live.
Should be happening any minute. In the meantime, we are starting to see more responses from Chiefs players. Justin Reed tweeting this out in the last 20 minutes or so, saying, praying for everyone in Kansas City at the parade. We're seeing a lot of prayers today from players and other people in our community, and we need them right now during this time.
We want to be able to bring you more of the reaction, some of those voices of the people who were there at the scene, at the parade when the shooting happened. Let's listen in now.
First thing I saw was Casey Mo's finest jump the barricades, and they were telling everybody to move, move, move. And they went inside the building, and probably 1 to 2 minutes later, everyone started running out of the building, and you could hear people yelling, active shooter, active shooter. At that point, we were picking up confetti on the other side because I kind of followed the police over the edge and picked up confetti with another guy, and they told us to hit the ground, and that was pretty much it. Didn't really hear any gunshots. I was on the east entrance, so, but there were plenty of people running out of the building.
We heard I call it a spread. I don't know what kind of gun it is, but it was like a prrr, like that. And all of a sudden, the girl next to me, where my daughter was standing with her husband, was shot in the mouth. Our children witnessed it. She was on the ground, bleeding from her mouth, all over her shoulder. And we knew then it was going to be serious. And people just, like when the crowd shifted and started running, all we could think about was protecting our children because they were going to get trampled on while we were trying to stay safe. I'm never bringing my kids to another place like this again. They ruined it for us because this is the second time we've came to something big event like this and there was a shooting. So it's just not safe anymore wherever you go at all. I mean, there's too many people, too many children for them to just spreading guns like that. You know what I mean? Go to find God because you're putting everyone's life in jeopardy, including your own, by doing something so stupid and so selfish. It's just, you don't think about other people. You're not thinking about other people at all.
We got Donovan Smith, who's tweeting, praying for everyone today in Kansas City. You know, Cameron just read a tweet from Justin Reed. He was just celebrating on that stage at Union Station, talking about how proud he is of this team and how much they love this community and how quickly things have turned. Police are up next, and we are going to be hearing from them at that press conference there. It's happening downtown at police headquarters. We should hear from Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas as well as Chief of Police Stacey Graves. And it looks like, once again, they're trying to make sure the video is clear, the audio is clear. We have Elise Schoenig there standing by for us. Elise, what's the latest?
Yeah, Dia, just a couple minutes ago, I actually went over to someone who looked just beside himself, and he told me that his friend was one of the people who was shot, and he was waiting to hear an update and to see if he could learn anything else about his condition. He did know that that friend of his was with family. He believes that friend of his is at the hospital, but he was walking around just trying to find anyone who had answers and could tell him whether or not his friend was okay, where his friend was for certain. And I think that's just the worst part of all of this, are all the questions, and you think, you know, is my loved one okay? Was so-and-so there? Did so-and-so get out in time? Did so-and-so have to see this? Did my little one see this? What does my little one think? Again, all these questions are just the worst parts of these things. We're still where we started, which is on Pershing and Grand here downtown, still kind of at this portion where police had originally closed this street off because they didn't want anybody to be getting in while they were figuring out what exactly was going on inside. It looks like some of these cars are starting to clear out over here, and they're making sure, just once again, that everyone is getting out safely. There's still some people walking around trying to make phone calls. Service out here really isn't the best, and so they're trying to make sure that they have everyone that they love tracked down and that everyone that they love is safe and is okay. And once again, kind of just watching as this scene is starting to just at least take somewhat of a deep breath for some people here. We still see law enforcement out here. They're walking around. They're trying to just keep us all safe, and we cannot thank them enough for doing so in such a scary situation like this. It's one reassurance to see that our law enforcement is doing everything they can to make sure everyone is all right. We'll go ahead and send things back to you all. For now, we're going to continue to look at the people who are left out here and go talk to them and make sure that that they are okay and that their loved ones are okay, guys.
Elise Schoenig reporting for us live there. Thank you so much for that. We're going to bring you some images. This is video from what transpired earlier this afternoon. Again, these pictures are not live. This is video of what happened. And I'm sure you at home have a lot of questions, right? What led up to this? What really happened? How many shots were fired? The ages and conditions of all of the victims at all of our hospitals throughout the metro. We hope to bring you some of those answers once we hear from, again, the chief of police and the mayor.
And the why is so crucial here, and we may not even know that today or tomorrow. It may take weeks before we really figure that out. But again, as Dia just mentioned, we're waiting on a press conference with Mayor Quinton Lucas and Chief of Police Stacey Graves. But you're taking a look at video. This is not live right here. Previous video of the moments after the shooting. You can see all of the people who were there. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, right? And law enforcement, hundreds of them just from KCPD alone. But we also know ATF is now involved in this investigation, the FBI, as well as state troopers.
We also see a tweet coming in from Trey Smith saying, "My thoughts and prayers are with everyone affected by today's incidents. A huge thank you to the first responders who ran toward the sound of danger." Trey Smith went on to say, "You are the ones who should be celebrated today." We're going to go to Leslie Delaspore.
Leslie, what are you hearing? Who are you speaking with now?
Hey Cameron, hey Dia, sorry, I'm just over here talking to a mom's and a son. Chrissy, you told me off camera your child went missing for an hour?
A little over an hour.
What was going through your mind at that moment when this happened?
Well, it was right after the shots were fired. I didn't know if he was dead. I didn't know if he was injured. I had no idea. It was probably the worst feeling I've ever felt. So.
Jaden, I mean, where were you when all this happened? What happened?
At first, I was following her, and then I turned around to make sure she was following, and she disappeared. So then I went to look for her and told her to stay where she was, and then when I came back to look for her, she was gone.
I mean, oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
That's when everybody was fleeing and stuff.
How scared were you? I mean, you didn't see either of your moms there. I mean, what was going through your mind?
I was mainly just nervous because I heard a few gunshots, and that's pretty much it. I was just nervous.
How many gunshots did you say that you heard?
Around 6.
And how are you feeling now? I mean, you're reunited with your family. What was that feeling like when you saw them? I mean,
I felt happy.
Mom, what about you? How'd you feel when you tell me? I think you told me, what was that embrace like when you saw him?
I about choked him to death, honestly. I jumped on his back and like yanked him backwards, but when he realized it was me, he just kind of dropped everything and he turned around, and I don't think he let me go for a good 5-10 minutes, which, being 15 years old, I don't get those hugs anymore.
But now I'm sure you're gonna hug him a little bit tighter tonight, right?
Every night.
And for you, I mean, what was that like, you know, not seeing anyone at Jaden or Chrissy here? I mean, what was going through your mind?
Scared. Thank God there was somebody that helped me get to safety with my vision. I am legally blind, but a young man helped me. And then out of nowhere, Jaden popped up, asked me where I've been. Before I knew what was going on, I had him. I approached him and I'm like, "Don't you ever scare me like that again." And then we went off and found his mom.
And for you, I mean, you told me, you said you're legally blind, but you heard the gunshots. I mean, what was going through your mind? I can't imagine.
I was this one gentleman, he was like, "Hey, shots fired." I'm like, "I am legally blind. Can you please just help me get to safety?" He took me by my arm and he just took charge. And I'm extremely grateful for him. If he's watching, thank you.
And how are you feeling right now? Are you kind of at calm or at ease? What's going through your mind right now?
Relief that my kid's okay.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Hug each other a little bit tighter tonight. Get home safe. Thank you so much. Cameron, Dia, I mean, you can't even imagine that a mother was here, or two mothers were here with their son and trying to enjoy this celebration, and our mother's child went missing for about an hour, and her heart just dropped completely. But thankfully, you know, they're reunited and whatnot. We're watching them walk away now, holding hands. So we're going to send it back to you guys.
That really stuck with me, Dia, knowing a mother lost her son for an hour. It just speaks to the chaos that happened after that shooting.
It's time for this press conference to begin here. So we see Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas and Police Chief Stacey Graves walking up to that microphone there.
Hi everyone, I'm Quinton Lucas, the mayor of Kansas City. I'm joined today by Police Chief Stacey Graves, our Fire Chief Ross Grendison. After I'm done speaking, Police Chief Graves will give details on the incident that happened earlier today. A few things that I want to make sure we note at the outset. First today, we had 600 Kansas City, Missouri Police Department officers, 250 from outside agencies. We went out today, like everyone in Kansas City, looking to have a celebration. That celebration was marred by a shooting today. And we recognize that there are some who are injured. We are praying for the safety of everyone. I've talked to a few different folks so far. One, we have spoken to the Kansas City Chiefs, who made clear that their prayers are with everyone who was at the parade today, everyone in Kansas City, and everyone who was touched by this incident. They also noted that their players, coaches, and staff are all accounted for at this point and safe. We, however, note that this is a fluid situation, so all that we are sharing now may change as the hours go ahead. We've also received a call from the White House that offered all federal assistance in the investigation. We had federal agencies present today. We appreciate that, and certainly in the days ahead and the hours ahead, we will make sure we continue to do this work. I will say personally, first, a thank you to the women and men of law enforcement, to the women and men who work with the Kansas City Fire Department and our other agencies. When the shooting started, I, like many others, ran for safety. I saw a number of agencies, including the Kansas City Police Department, officers with guns drawn who were running towards danger. We thank them for that. As I was leaving the scene, I saw members of our Kansas City Fire Department administering aid to folks who were seriously injured without concern for the shootings and the challenges that were near them. This is absolutely a tragedy, the likes of which we would have never expected in Kansas City, and the likes of which we will remember for some time. However, I want to say thank you to those who are making sure that we are safe today, those who are investigating this incident, and those who will continue to make sure that those who committed these acts today are brought to justice. We'll come back for some questions at the end of the Chief's comments, but now the Police Chief, Stacey Graves.
Chief Stacey Graves, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. At the conclusion of the Chiefs rally today, there were shots fired on the west side of Union Station. Immediately, officers responded to the area, took 2 people into custody, and also immediately rendered life-sustaining aid to those victims. We're still gathering information on the number and the status of victims, but like I said, we know that one of the victims is deceased. We also know that officers ran towards danger. Officers were there to keep everyone safe. I'm angry at what happened today. The people who came to this celebration should expect a safe environment. We had over 800 law enforcement officers, Kansas City and other agencies, at the location to keep everyone safe. Because of bad actors, which were very few, this tragedy occurred, even in the presence of uniformed law enforcement officers, who again ran towards them and took them into custody. To the people who were injured in this tragedy, our hearts go out to you and your families. This investigation is just beginning, and we are working safely to clear all surrounding areas and businesses. This is still an active investigation. We will continue to keep you updated. We will keep you updated on Twitter and most likely a follow-up press availability. Did you have anything? No. One of our victims has been declared deceased. We have right now we have up to 10 to 15 injured by yes. Right now we do not have an exact number of people who were victims of a gunshot wound. It could be upwards from 10 to 15 with one deceased.
Do you know how many are in critical condition at this point?
I do not have conditions on our victims just yet.
Any believed to be children?
I do not believe that any of them were children.
Any law enforcement injured in this first response?
Nothing of note.
Chief, what do you guys believe now prompted the shooting?
That is still under investigation. I myself was outside when I heard the shots fired. It is an ongoing investigation. It's going to take us a little bit to determine exactly what led up to the shooting. I will say, though, we do have 2 suspects in custody.
There are rumors circulating on social media that some fans may have helped detain one of those.
I have heard that as well. I have heard that fans got involved in the apprehension or the pursuit of one of the suspects. I cannot confirm that right now, but that is something that I have heard myself. Yes.
About the response time, because you say 10 to 15 hostages injured in the shooting, but there was 800 officers there. This happened pretty quickly. So can you talk about when this started, sort of a timeline from there to the point where your officers responded, to the point where you had KCFD helping to
Absolutely.
your first aid?
As soon as the rally concluded, there were shots fired on the west side of Union Station. Officers were on scene in the area. I know one of the suspects was immediately pursued on foot. Like I said, there's 2 suspects in custody. I have heard the information that was just requested. I will confirm or deny that. But after that, immediately officers began rendering life-sustaining aid, calling in fire, which is the fire department, to also assist those victims.
Do you know if there were more than 2 people taken into custody? Because we had 2 people, after you guys had made your announcement, there were 2 people in custody, 2 people live on our air being taken, handcuffed, put into vans. So can you tell us about that and the process as this investigation continues?
I don't know exactly the 2 that you're talking about that your camera caught on video being loaded into a wagon. I don't know that, but I can tell you that in and around that scene, it is still active. Not active in necessarily threats, but it's a very active scene. We're still investigating. This is still early on. We still have parties that are walking into hospitals.
Chief Graves, do you know anything about the suspects in terms of where they're from? Are they from here?
I do not know that, but that's something that I also will be finding out.
2 questions. We were hearing upwards of maybe 20 shots. Can you talk about the number that you heard while you were...
I'm hearing 10 to 15, possibly 15, with the one that is deceased.
And do you know anything about the timing? It seems odd that it's waited to the very end of the rally.
I don't have anything about... I can't give you an answer on the timing. I can just say that that's when it occurred, and we are investigating what led up to that. Maybe once we get some of those details, we'll know why that happened at that time, but right now it's still too new.
Chief, was it just one incident or multiple incidents that injured multiple?
That is something that is under investigation.
Mayor Quinton Lucas, you talked about how you were on the ground and you yourself had to run for safety. I understand we're still waiting on a timeline and trying to understand what exactly happened. But we were having a Super Bowl parade, and this is what the country is talking about now. What is your message to this city at a time like this?
I second the comments by the Chief of Police. I'm heartbroken. First of all, I'm praying for the victims and the families impacted. I start with them. I'm incredibly upset, disappointed. I was there with my wife. I was there with my mother. We never would have thought that we, along with Chiefs players, along with fans, hundreds of thousands of people, would be forced to run for our safety today. I think that I'll let the investigation shake out before coming to any further conclusions, but I think the initial response absolutely is anger. You know, we have done a number of these now, and this is a day that a lot of people look forward to, something they remember for a lifetime. And what they shouldn't have to remember is the threat of gun violence, marring a day like this, injuring them and their families. This morning, I was actually thinking about bringing my child, as many people in Kansas City did. And I don't want us to have to, in our country, for every big event, think about a concern of being shot. As the chief noted, we had a lot of law enforcement officers there today. They did exceptional and outstanding work, and I will second that again. Because on your timeline point, I was inside of Union Station. We heard something. A number of us start running, and I see a stream of officers going the exact other direction, in with guns drawn, ready to address danger. And that was the situation throughout. People who responded absolutely immediately. But I wish that we lived in a world where they wouldn't have to do that. I wish we live in a world where we wouldn't have to see incidents like that. But I'm as heartbroken as anybody. We will do a full and thorough investigation, I hope that we bring whoever this is to justice, and we will continue to try to make sure that we can be as safe as possible. However, when you have people who decide to bring guns to events, when you have people who are deciding to try to mar events, celebratory ones like this one, all of us start to become members of this club that none of us want to be a part of, which is those who have experienced mass shootings. I hope for Kansas City this is one of the last times we experience that.
Were the players in any danger at any point?
What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
Players in danger at any point?
Was I in danger?
No, were any of the players, the Chiefs players?
You know what? I think we'll let the investigation take a look at that. The police department responded effectively, I think incredibly quickly, to make sure that people would be out of harm's way. That being said, a number of us had to flee from a situation because we heard a sound of gunshots. So I'll let you answer your own question in terms of whether you think that's something that puts you in danger or not. In my view, anytime shots are nearby, you don't know where they're coming from, you don't know who's firing them and all of that, then perhaps there is a situation of danger. But
Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. We're going to get back inside.
Can I ask a fire question? Of the 10 to 15 injured, that you say, are all of those gunshots around, and do you have a sense of how many, or are some of those also critical in injury?
We've covered that. We don't have that information.
I'll just answer real quick. Hold on. 10 to 15 is what we have. Potentially 15. One deceased. I don't have a condition on the other gunshot victims.
Those are all gunshots.
Correct. That's correct.
We don't know how many.
One fire question.
No, I do not.
Because Chief Graves said there
We're going to have a lot of updates later, guys. We got to go inside and gather this information. I appreciate it.
Where are the updates, Jake, later?
Well, just look on Twitter.
I just have one. I just have one. I just have one. I just have. Excuse me. I just have one thing to say. This is not Kansas City. I'm angered by what happened, but I want you to know that the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department and all the law enforcement officers that were there today, that were serving and protecting, did the best that they could, and I'm so proud of them that they ran into danger, getting 2 people into custody, and at the same time rendering life-sustaining aid to those victims. We were here for a safe celebration, and because of 2 bad actors or more, it is why we're standing here today. We will recover as a city. My heart goes out to our victim who is deceased, but your police department stands ready, and we are invested in the safety and betterment of Kansas City. Thank you.
We'll send you guys more updates on Twitter, okay? Follow the Twitter account, and we'll put the updates that we have on Twitter. We'll update you guys if there's going to be more news releases, okay?
Thank you.
Officer Gonzalez, is the victim a male or female?
The latest there coming from Mayor Quentin Lucas and Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves. We're joined right now by Mick Schaefer, our sports director here, who was live on the air reporting during this parade. And Mick, this is, first of all, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're okay. But what a day.
Whole crew's okay, and there are a lot of them still there. As you heard, they're relocating downtown. McKenzie and I just got a ride back, and it was only 3 or 4 miles, and it took about 30, 35 minutes. There's a video I took. This is after the gunshots. This is a flood of people, of police officers going into Union Station. Something happened inside Union Station, it was a gunshot or something else, but people ran out. And this was, once they started exiting Union Station in a hurried pace, that's when we all hit the deck, and we had already tossed it back to you guys on set as we were trying to figure out what was going on. And so we hit the deck. I got some video here, and our great photographer, Al Miller, was up getting video as well. It's not from a phone. And so that's that. And then not long after that, I heard a gunshot right there. And that was a number of officers arriving on the scene. It looked like the stairs down to the garage there under Union Station where you can park. You see just right there to the east of where everybody was sitting for the parade celebration on the stage there. And you see a number of officers convening after I heard that, what sounded like a gunshot, right? And it was right behind
you see
the
McKenzie
NFL
in the frame
Network
there.
set. And then this is somebody being wheeled out of Union Station. Like I said, something happened inside Union Station. That is somebody being wheeled out on a stretcher outside Union Station. And those videos are in chronological order. So we were on the air when the gunshots happened. We didn't hear them because we had the headsets on, and it's chaos right in your ears, and it's so loud. But one of our photographers was like, yeah, I heard gunshots, and there's so many police officers around. I think one of them told him, yeah, 2 to 3 people might have been shot. We couldn't report that at the time, so we tossed it back to you to try to get our bearings. But at first, I mean, we saw people streaming toward Union Station. At first, okay, the Chiefs were exiting the stage. You thought, okay, people are just trying to get a glimpse of Patrick Mahomes and these guys before they leave. But then you saw them streaming west and south and east and as well out of this area, which, as the police chief mentioned, was kind of the southwest part of Union Station, where I believe the gunfire emanated from. And so that was the first thing. And then we were looking around trying to gather information, and we were still going to come back on air. And that's when everybody started flooding out of Union Station. And that's when we decided, we got the orders, okay, get down. We all got down. And then after that, we heard the gunshot not long after that. Just behind the NFL Network. So.
Mick, I'll echo what Dia said. We are all glad you're safe. We're family here at KSHB 41, so we hugged Mick as soon as we saw him here in the studio. Glad he is all right. But Mick, talk to me about what was going through your mind when you took cover, when you heard what you thought was a gunshot.
Right. I mean, it was surreal at the time. I mean, things just changed like that, right? On a dime, a celebration, one of the greatest days in, you know, sports history here in this town, and all of a sudden it is just marred, and it does a 180, and you just can't believe it. You hope maybe you're hearing something else, it's fireworks or something like that. But the way the officers responded, you knew it was something serious.
You could tell the urgency, and this is what Dia and I saw initially on video. You saw all those people rushing into Union Station right there.
So these are the cops running in. Initially, it was people, they were jumping over fences to get to safety, to get inside somewhere. They're not supposed to be in there. They didn't care at that point. They were looking to get indoors. And then not long after that, a lot of those same people kept streaming, streamed out of it. So something happened in there, and that's when the cops, as you heard the chief and the mayor say, they ran towards the danger there. That's when I started shooting video on my own phone, and then this is somewhere, I think near our set, people trying to jump over the fence is a quicker, exit out rather than having to run around a perimeter, because it's very tight there, right? The fountain is there, and it was cordoned off. You had so many stages and podiums that were blocking people. So, and that's tens of thousands of people right around where the gunshots took place.
Not to mention all of the officers, 600 officers just from KCPD, 250 from outside agencies.
Yeah.
Mick, thanks so much for that. Now our focus really turns to not only getting those details about what exactly happened there, but also the victims. We have Jessica McMaster reporting for us live. And Jessica, just bring us the very latest on what you've learned and the information and questions you were able to ask even after that press conference.
Police Chief Stacey Graves and Mayor Quentin Lucas just wrapped up their press conference out here, and I want to go over what we know so far and some of the questions that we asked. Police Chief Graves says that one person has died. She doesn't know the exact number of people who were shot. He says that's anywhere from 10 to 15 people. I did ask her, since we know Children's Mercy is accepting patients, if any of those victims are children. Some silver lining here, she doesn't believe any children were hurt in this. One of the things that captivated me during this press conference is, as you know, we have had 2 other rallies, Chiefs parades, that have gone off without any issues, no injuries. Our own mayor says that he heard something and started running for his life. He too was scared in this moment. He says he saw police running in the exact opposite direction that he was running in and began rendering aids to the victims on the spot almost immediately. The 2 suspects that are in custody, they're not giving us any information about that. I did ask if they're local from Kansas City. Police Chief Graves tells me that's one of the things she's trying to figure out. Live in Kansas City, I'm Jessica McMaster, KSHB 41 News.
Thank you, Jess. So let's go back out to KSHB 41 News reporter Megan Abundis. And Megan, you have been talking about this heartbreaking story of a family whose 15-year-old was injured in this shooting. Are you hearing anything else?
We saw a large group of family members that were in this area. They've all been moved to the chapel here at Truman Medical Center University Health. That was about 20 minutes ago. We've still seen families in Chiefs gear go to the hospital, the emergency room, and be escorted to the chapel. We've seen a person who is a part of hospital staff labeled as the pharmacist escorting these family members to get them to a safer area, a place where they can be reunified with their family. We just heard from the hospital that they're expected to address us here outside with an update of how many people they are treating. We have not seen any more ambulances off carting people with Chiefs gear on. It's a much quieter scene than it was about an hour ago. Actually, I see staff rolling up crime scene tape right now, so that's hopefully a good thing. But I mean, it's very quiet because all of the family members have been moved to a different area. Just to recap what we did see earlier, there were so many people in Chiefs gear being offloaded from the ambulances with their family members, and it was really hard to watch, and people were trying to get answers and were struggling to do so, so they were crowded outside of the emergency room. We're still waiting to hear from ambulance or hospital staff about what's next and what's to come, and we'll continue to update you.
Megan, thanks for that. And you can see those family members there in that video we brought you a little bit earlier. You know, just imagine you're holding your babies, you know, you're trying to make sure that you comfort the people there. And we really don't know. There's so much information that still needs to come out about what happened. But what we can tell you is anywhere from 10 to 15 victims. One person has already died. Multiple hospitals in the area are treating these patients. 2 people are in custody. They were armed there at the parade. They're in for questioning. And KSHB 41, man, we're here trying to bring you as many voices as we can. We're here trying to bring you as much context and information as we can as we learn it. And so this is a look at the streets that just hours ago were filled with people in red and gold and jerseys and confetti and friendship bracelets, for goodness sake. So
now
this
empty,
is
just eerie, I would say now.
You know, it was flowing with confetti. And now we see law enforcement there kind of watching over the scene. So again, we are working to bring you as much information as we can. We know hundreds of officers were there, and we've heard multiple times about the quick response from law enforcement.
I think the mayor and also the police chief's comments about officers rushing to go to the danger, that really resonates with folks, as well as first responders also administering needed aid for people who were hurt right there in front of Union Station. I think what also stood out to me, Dia, was the police chief called these 2 people in custody suspects. Before, they were called 2 armed people. So let's head out to Daniela Leone. And Daniela, I know this has been really tough for you. Who are you speaking with now? What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
Hey, Cameron and Dia. Well, right now we're at the scene of where that shooting took place. As you can see, a Kansas City Police Mobile Command Post just arrived here. There are several agencies still out here investigating. This continues to be an active crime scene. We have multiple Chiefs fans still waiting to get into their cars. As you guys know, Union Station did offer limited parking to some of the fans who decided to come out here and celebrate their Kansas City Chiefs. We're being told it could take a couple of hours for them to be able to get into their car. Again, this continues to be an active scene. They have the entire Union Station blocked off. You can't get near it right now. Several police officers posted all throughout World War I Memorial as well. It is a very active and large scene. We don't know how long it's going to take until they clear the scene. We're still working on gathering that information. We have been talking to a lot of people. Again, many of them just continue to be scared. It's really hard for them to come to terms exactly with what occurred. It's been a very chaotic scene nonetheless. So I'm going to send it back to you guys. Again, we are working around the clock to give you guys more details as they keep coming in. Back to you.
Thank you, Daniela. We're continuing to hear from more Chiefs players.
Trent McDuffie, Kansas City cornerback there, says, "Get the hate out of your hearts, praying for the kingdom." Again, another person who was just on that stage cheering and celebrating
a great
just the
day.
history being made. We also want to go ahead and get to Mackenzie Nelson, who we saw in Mick Schaefer's video.
She's live in the newsroom for us right now. Mackenzie, what was that moment like for you?
Well, Cameron and Dia, you just showed Trent McDuffie's post there on Twitter, and it all happened so fast. 1 minute we were watching the team celebrate on stage, all of us, Mick, Caitlin, Kevin, Al Miller, our photojournalist, and some VIPs. We were all in the area of our stage that you guys have been watching the parade coverage from, and we're watching the team celebrate, and when they wrapped up, it was almost like we heard shots just seconds later, and you looked to the stage and there were police kind of gathering the team to get them out of the way. But I have to tell you, I mean, it really did happen so quickly. 1 minute we hit the deck. I remember being next to Kevin and Caitlin, and Gian was there too at my feet. And the next, you know, it seemed like it was forever until police came over to tell us that we were cleared to get up and move. But I will tell you, when we've heard those first shots and kind of hit the floor of our risers where we were anchoring that show from, it was almost like we saw people running one direction, and then they started running into Union Station to kind of take cover. But then moments later, we saw everybody running out of Union Station. And so it was all kind of chaos at one moment, but you saw police there just running into Union Station after we had seen a number of people go in there seeking shelter. And it was just a lot of chaos, a lot of law enforcement running towards the shots while we were all taking cover. And so very thankful for all the law enforcement officers that were out there today, and very sorry, you know, for those that were injured and involved in all of this today.
We saw people getting picked up, men, women gathering their kids immediately so that way they can get out the way. So.
Can you say that again just one more time?
Men and women were gathering their children. It was so many children just having to be like picked up real fast, and so it was just alarming. It was a scary sight.
Broke her leg.
Yes. So one of my children's father's sister, her daughter, ended up breaking her leg. So that's what we just got word from her dad that's what happened, and nobody is able to get in there. So we're just gonna pray around the grounds. There's nothing else to do.
Did you see the shooter?
Yes.
We saw one of the shooters. He had a brown jacket on, and he was running.
He was real young, probably looking like about 16 or 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They were really young.
Yeah.
So it didn't look like it was some type of a stage or anything like that. It looked like it was just somebody just acting out out of control.
Yeah.
What kind of gun? What kind of firearm?
We didn't see the firearm, but we heard the shots. We had got out of there in the area where the shots went off. We were
literally standing there.
And so the fact that we got out before then was just a miracle.
Yeah.
So
Man, put this into perspective. You guys were probably having an amazing time. What a great day here in Kansas City and this.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to celebrate and to have the Super Bowl, of course, and we're back-to-back champions, it's just a nightmare to be able to have to come into a situation like that of celebrating, and then out of nowhere, people are getting killed, and out of nowhere, children are being rushed to the hospital. But I look at it like this. You just have to always be ready.
Alert.
You know, and alert.
Be alert.
To be able to help somebody. And God just told us to come down here and be on assignment, and this is our assignment.
That's great. I saw you walking around, you were praying, you were actively praying, your hands are out.
Absolutely.
Why?
God has done so much in my life. He saved my life many times, from guns, from bullets, and the streets and whole nine, and the same thing with her. And because we have been active participants before in our past, we know what it's like to either be in a situation where your life is in jeopardy. I've escaped death too many times, and so I'm just giving it back in prayer. We speak life now instead of death.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. In case we missed it or something like that, can you say and spell your name one more time?
Yeah, my name is Leandre Allen, Leandre, last name Allen, Allen.
Great.
My name is Spencer Johnson, Spencer Johnson.
All right. Wonderful.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for spreading what you're spreading.
Absolutely.
We just received the statement from the Baltimore Ravens, which says, "Our hearts are with Chiefs Kingdom following the tragic events and shocking violence that occurred during today's parade in Kansas City. On a day meant for uniting people in joy and celebrating love, we send our full support to every citizen of the region and each member of the Chiefs organization who has been affected by this senseless tragedy." A statement there from the Baltimore Ravens.
Absolutely senseless. Let's head out to our anchors, Kevin Holmes and Caitlin Canute, who were there when the shooting happened. They had to take cover in all of this. Caitlin and Kevin, what are you seeing now?
Yeah. Well, since we last talked to you, we were asked to move. So at the time, I think we were the only news crew that was inside that crime scene. And so we stayed to try to be your eyes and ears for as long as we could. And then eventually police did ask us to move because it is an active crime scene. Mackenzie was talking about we saw people running every direction. So my husband was at work watching the parade coverage on our station with his coworkers. And he asked me later, he said, "Why didn't you get out of there? Why did you just duck down in the stage?" And I said, "We didn't know what direction shots were coming from." And that was because we heard it to the right. Then we saw people run into Union Station, then run out. And then it sounded like another gunshot over to our left, so it was just that utter chaos and confusion.
Yeah, well, you look at, we originally saw people running toward the fountain, actually toward Main Street, and we were still trying to discern what was happening. We were actually live as that was taking place, and we thought it just may be some people just trying to leave the perimeter for whatever reason. But when we saw people leaving out of Union Station and rushing in a hurry, in a panic, that's when we immediately took cover, and we had to get off air because safety, of course, was paramount. And I just learned from a very reputable source that among the shooting victims is a 10-year-old who was grazed by a bullet who is being treated at the hospital.
You know, I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, so I think any parents who are at home who maybe didn't come are thinking that could have been me, that could have been my kid. I know Alyssa was talking to a family, and I don't know if it was the same one, but one of our field producers, shortly after all this happened, talked to a woman who said that her daughter broke her leg trying to get out of here. They got separated from the father, so again, it could be the same family or it could be someone else, because you think about that panic and running, and you know that sometimes, I know that University Health has some injuries that are non-gunshot related.
And you think about the running joke earlier, hey, there are some school districts that didn't cancel, and you're thinking, why won't you cancel for a parade, for a Chiefs parade, right? This is supposed to be a joyous celebration, a moment of happiness, a moment of unity throughout the entire metro, and instead, young, innocent lives were put in danger, and some as a result of recovering at the hospital. This is the last thing we expected or wanted to report on what should have been a parade, a celebration for the world champions.
So if you look behind us a little bit, you can see there's here. We've seen some people who wanted to get back in to get their belongings, and police are saying absolutely not. It's going to be a while before they let anyone in.
In fact, when we were asked to leave the perimeter, the area we were set up, they told just take the essentials of what you need. There are some belongings back there on the KSHB 41 stage that we're going to have to go back to once the crime scene is cleared. We're going to get out to KSHB 41 reporter Megan Abundis, who she has been following this for us. Megan, one of the people who had to seek safety shortly after it happened. So Megan, she spent a lot of time at the hospital. Megan, are you still there? What are you seeing, and what can you tell us?
We are. Yeah, we are still outside of True Medical Center, but we have still seen Chiefs fans walk by, and I'm here with Spencer and Leandre, and you two were at Union Station. You said you saw the shooter.
Yes, ma'am. We saw a shooter in a tan jacket. He was running at the time from the ranger that was looking for him, and he got pointed out, and he had darted back into the crowd, and right like feet away from us, and I'm glad that I'm sure they apprehended him, but we had made it out just in time. Yeah.
And Spencer, you said just in time also meant a stampede.
Yes, it was children and being picked up by their fathers and mothers trying to get away, and so we were trying to get past as well, and it was just alarming. It was a lot that was going on.
How do you put this into context when you are going from a celebration to now?
The only thing that you can do is you resort back into your hope. Where your hope lies, you can only be like, okay, God, something has to change now. I mean, it's crazy to go from celebrating to having a painful experience where people are passing away or dying or being, stampeded and hurt and harmed. God led us back down here to begin to pray. And everything is foundational in prayer.
You described it as your worst nightmare when that happened. Is that accurate?
Yes, it can be a nightmare. Your children, you never want your children to ever go through this. You don't want anybody to ever, be hurt. I mean, Kansas City is such an amazing place, and we want everybody to be safe at all times. But to the fact that you can go from that to gunshots being gone off, and you're thinking there's fireworks, but it's a gunshots and somebody's getting killed. I mean, it's a nightmare, but we're here to spread hope through prayer.
And Spencer, you also said during that stampede, a friend of yours, a child, was hurt.
Yes, she broke her leg. We found out when we came back up here at Children's Mercy that she ended up breaking her leg, and so all we could do is pray, and so we're going around the grounds just praying and interceding for her and the other children that were affected, because it was a lot of people affected by this. So
thank you both very much.
Absolutely.
We're still outside of the hospital here waiting word from staff about who they are treating and what their condition is. We have not yet seen any more ambulances. Again, that family has been moved into the chapel to be reconnected with their family members. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Megan. And we continue to hear more perspectives from people who were at today's parade. Let's listen in.
haven't taken a breath whatsoever. I'm just trying to make sure that, you know, people are safe and going to where they need to be and everything. And I'll cry it out. I'll do what I need to once I reach my husband and my family, my loved ones. So
thank you.
Here's we're having some technical difficulties right there. We'll get back and listen to those perspectives shortly. We do have a statement from Governor Parson. I do want to read this for you right now. It says, I want to start with a thank you to Kansas City Police along with other state and local first responders who were able to quickly take 2 individuals into custody. It goes on to say this right here. Doesn't look like we have the rest of that statement just yet, but when we do, we'll be sure to bring it to you. Today's shooting, absolutely devastating. We've heard from countless people, not only people here at the station who were at the parade, but also those who were at the parade as well, just hoping to have a good day, to celebrate with the players and their families. And then we have this happen right here. So just an absolutely awful day. We've seen video of confetti in the streets, people leaving their strollers, their chairs. It gives you an idea of the urgency with which people left. Let's listen to more of these perspectives.
We heard I call it a spread. I don't know what kind of gun it is, but it was like a prrr, like that. And all of a sudden, the girl next to me, where my daughter was standing with her husband, was shot in the mouth. Our children witnessed it. She was on the ground, bleeding from her mouth, all over her shoulder. And we knew then it was going to be serious. And people just, like, when the crowd shifted and started running, all we could think about was protecting our children because they were going to get trampled on while we were trying to stay safe. I'm never bringing my kids to another place like this again. They ruined it for us because this is the second time we've came to something big event like this and there was a shooting. So it's just not safe anymore wherever you go at all. I mean, there's too many people, too many children for them to just spreading guns like that. You know what I mean? Go to find God because you're putting everyone's life in jeopardy, including your own, by doing something so stupid and so selfish. It's just, you don't think about other people. You're not thinking about other people at all.
Oh. We were down over really close to the situation. We saw people starting to jump over the gates, and then they were telling us to run, but then they said active shooter, and then so we just dropped down to the ground. My daughter tried to climb on top of me to protect me, and I tried to just hold her so nothing would happen to her.
Well, it was right after the shots were fired. I didn't know if he was dead. I didn't know if he was injured. I had no idea. Like, it was probably the worst feeling I've ever felt. So.
Jaden, I mean, where were you when all this happened? What happened?
At first, I was following her, and then I turned around to make sure she was following, and she disappeared. So then I went to look for her and told her to stay where she was, and then when I came back to look for her, she was gone.
I mean, how? Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
That's when everybody was fleeing and stuff.
How scared were you? I mean, you didn't see either of your moms there. I mean, what was going through your mind?
I was mainly just nervous because I heard a few gunshots, and that's pretty much it. I was just nervous.
And how are you feeling now? I mean, you're reunited with your family. What was that feeling like when you saw them? I mean,
I felt happy.
Mom, what about you? How'd you feel when you tell me? I think you told me, what was that embrace like when you saw him?
I about choked him to death, honestly. I jumped on his back and like yanked him backwards, but when he realized it was me, he just kind of dropped everything and he turned around, and I don't think he let me go for a good 5-10 minutes.
Coming up here, we knew going into a big crowd that there was always that chance of something like this happening, but we wanted to experience the fun day with the boys, and thankfully we were far enough away and it wasn't loud enough that these two just kind of slept through most of it.
Let's get back to that statement from Governor Mike Parson from Missouri. He says this: I want to start with a thank you to Kansas City Police along with other state and local first responders who were able to quickly take 2 individuals into custody. It goes on to say this: and provide critical care to victims following today's shooting. We do want to get back out to reporter Elise Schoenig right now. And Elise, what are you hearing and what are you seeing?
Yeah, guys, we're finally starting to see a little bit of just some stillness in this activity. Police have continued to block off this area. They actually just recently have put some tape up. If you want to go look over here, they are officially closing this road. You can see again the yellow tape with the neon sign saying road closed ahead. People have still been trying to walk through or even drive through, those who are still lingering, and they've been redirecting them and telling them to please not cross this area as they are wanting to have complete protection and control over this area. At this point, it started to clear out a little bit downtown in terms of the people that we're seeing. There's not as many people that we're seeing now as we were seeing, of course, earlier as this was all happening. To my right over here, actually, I know you guys were referencing this earlier when you were saying, you know, look at this was the parade route, right? This was at one point filled with Chiefs Kingdom and with our players and with confetti. Then it was filled with police cars, and you can see that road actually has opened up now, and traffic is able to go through that way as well. Last time we talked to you all, this road was closed off, so there's a little bit of a difference in the movement in traffic there as well. Another thing I do just want to add, we've all been hearing how the response from law enforcement was so quick, and just really you know, saying how Kansas City Police Department and all responding crews have been handling this. If I can bring everyone one positive thing, just so everyone has something after this happening. We saw police officers playing with two young girls over here who appeared to be scared because they didn't know what was going on, and there were two officers who sat and played with these girls for probably about 30 minutes just to distract them from what was going on around them. So of course, in the grand scheme of things, what happened today was still a tragedy, but was certainly a moment to stop and stare at when we saw that happening, again, in the middle of everything that has happened today. We're going to continue to monitor the roads, especially again, like I said, with this road now being closed, and then this one right here. So this is actually going down Grand Boulevard now. This traffic appears to now be open to people again. And once again, we'll just keep you posted out here with other information that we're able to learn and confirm. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys.
Elise Schoening reporting for us live there. Thanks for that.
All right, we want to go out to KSHB 41 News reporter Alyssa Jackson. She's at University Health. And Alyssa, what are you hearing from people there?
Hey guys, yeah, I have been here at University Health for the past hour, and it's hard to describe the scene here at the hospital. When we first got here, there was a crowd of people who could not get into the ER, waiting on their family and friends, loved ones who were victims in this incident. I actually spoke with a woman off camera who, for obvious reasons, did not want to do an interview. She had blood on her shirt. She was describing to me how she wasn't that far away from her brother who was shot at the parade, and she's looking for him, hoping that he is safe. So what we have seen here is just incredibly sad to even fathom how quickly we go from such a high to such a low. We've noticed families pulling up here at University Health. They were hopping out of their cars. They were rushing over here to the ER to check on their loved ones. And right now, we've given you the latest that we have from police, but we do know that several people were shot. You know, one person has passed away, but as far as we know, there are no additional victims that KCPD has reported to us so far. So we have talked to several people. I've talked to a family who had their two little boys who decided to be further away from the crowd, and good on them because they didn't want their kids to be caught in a crowd if something did happen. So we are going to keep standing out here. We are waiting for the hospital to brief us and give us an update, but for now I'm going to send it to you guys back in the studio.
Alyssa Jackson reporting for us live there at one of the probably most fraught places at this hour, where families are waiting to be notified of how their family members are doing.
University Health treating several people, we know, most of which were gunshot wounds.
We're going to show you some video now of a person being tackled shortly after the shooting near Union Station. It's one of many videos that are circulating on social media. You see here that a person was running, and they're being pursued by what appears to be other parade goers. He was eventually detained by law enforcement. We're still working to confirm if this person was involved in any way with today's events. That's not clear yet. We're still working to continue to clarify exactly what was happening in this video and at the scene. You may see this video on social media, but again, we still are unsure about what transpired there.
And we heard from police that 2 people are now in custody, calling them suspects. The chief of police did about an hour ago or so. Now, we did hear from former U.S. Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, a shooting survivor herself. She released a statement on what happened here in Kansas City today. We'll get to that statement in just a little bit.
We have Michael Tabman, who is retired law enforcement, on the phone for us. And Michael, thanks for joining us, especially on a day like today. Can you describe what's happening at this moment?
At this moment, the police department is investigating this matter with 2 people in custody. They want to determine, obviously, how this happened, why this happened, and the culpability of the individuals that were involved in this. They want to ensure that this was not part of some widespread conspiracy, which it was probably not. They want to know if anyone's responsible for aiding and abetting the crime in terms of getting people the weapon. And they'll coordinate with federal agencies such as the FBI to ensure this was not a domestic terrorist event or something similar like that, a threat to national security, though it's probably not, but they need to cover that base. So right now they are in the investigative mode, and they need to put together a strong prosecution on these 2.
And Michael, on that same note, how much is going on with law enforcement at this point? It seems like we're hearing a lot of different information depending on who you ask.
That's going to happen in every tragedy like this. I've been involved in that myself, where just information gets repeated and it's repeated incorrectly. There's a certain amount of controlled chaos within law enforcement when this happens. It sounds like the police department did a pretty good job in getting these 2 into custody quickly. The information that's getting out there are, people saying what they saw or what they think they saw or what they heard. And we know in our history that witness statements right after a traumatic event like that could be pretty unreliable. So I say, before we draw conclusions, sit and wait. The police department will come out with a press conference as soon as they have enough facts to do so.
Michael, it's been a couple of hours now. We've talked a lot about it may take a while to investigate what transpired in regards to the shooting. How soon could we really get an update on the victims here? I mean, their conditions, things like that.
Well, there's a lot that goes into that. The police department does not really control that information. People are, have privacy concerns when it comes to the medical condition. That'll come out of the hospital, and it'll be a matter of whether or not in a police statement they want to tell people what's going on, or in a larger press conference, members of the hospital staff who've been authorized to release that information. Again, it's just a matter of time of getting done. There is no schedule for this. It happens when it happens, when there's enough information to go out there and give the public some information. You don't have to give them everything, but enough to at least satiate our need to understand what happened.
Michael, people are wanting answers. They want to know the why. But realistically, how long could an investigation like this take?
I don't think this will take very long, because it sounds, and I could be wrong, of course, we don't know all the facts, it sounds like it was 2 individuals that got into a dispute and pulled guns on each other. People reckless and irresponsible, brandishing weapons in this incredibly crowded environment. I don't think it'll be very long before they make an arrest. We'll probably hear about it, if not tonight, by tomorrow, that someone's been charged. And again, they always say the investigation really starts after the arrest. After they make that probable cause and they put someone in custody, they will continue the investigation. There's going to be forensic work being done at the scene of the weapon. There'll be more interviews of witnesses and of the suspects themselves if they wish to make a statement.
You've heard it multiple times throughout our broadcast today into this afternoon. This all turned on a dime, Michael. I mean, it went from confetti and music and celebration to gunshots in the air and thousands of people running for their lives. Talk to me about what's going on for law enforcement from totally different agencies there, and how quickly they have to kind of transition.
Law enforcement has a long history of working cooperatively. I was the assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Kansas City for a couple of years. Incredibly close relationship with all the local PDs, the sheriff's office, the other federal agencies. It's not what you see on television, where everyone's fighting for jurisdiction or fighting for command and control. This is a police department matter. They are being assisted by the other law enforcement agencies. Unfortunately, we become very experienced in these type of events and are more trained, so they know what they're doing. They'll have their information flow set up, a command center if called for, and sort of the responsibilities divvied up. Like, for example, wouldn't be unusual if the FBI took over the forensics because of their expertise in that.
That leads to my next question, Michael. What does it say to you that the FBI and ATF are assisting?
I wouldn't say it makes it any bigger than it is or any less than what it is. It's just become standard in these type of cases because of the expertise. ATF obviously has the ability to trace these weapons better than anyone else. The FBI does great forensics and are the best interviewers that we have out there in law enforcement. So this has become pretty standard. I wouldn't say it suggests any bigger conspiracy or terrorism just by their presence. It's just law enforcement cooperating.
Michael Tapman, retired law enforcement, tapping in to kind of give us some context and understanding around what's happening during a shooting at something like a Chiefs Super Bowl parade, and even now as the investigation continues. Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get back to that statement from former U.S. Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, who was a shooting survivor herself, if you remember. She released this statement on what happened here in Kansas City. It reads, quote, "In Kansas City today, a celebration has turned into a nightmare again. Americans should not have to live in constant fear of gun violence, not a Super Bowl victory parade or anywhere else. As we mark 6 years since the mass shooting in Parkland, Florida, another community has to face that trauma. My heart goes out to Kansas City. We're with you, and we will never stop fighting to end gun violence."
We're trying to catch our breath a little bit, get as much information as possible. We recently got an update from University Health, and just to make sure I have it correct, they are treating, it looks like eight gunshot victims, and 2 of them are critical at this hour. And so they are also treating others who have non-parade related injuries. But, you know, this is a situation where every hospital in this community, every law enforcement agency in this community are all responding, trying to make sure, 1, that they treat the victims, and 2, that they figure out how this happened.
And it's important to note this information can change practically every minute, even every hour, I would say. We're continuing to get updated information here, so some earlier information may change, so we want to note that.
We're going to go to Jessica McMaster, who's standing by, because we're going to get another update, Jess, from the Kansas City mayor and the Kansas City police chief here in about 25 minutes or so. Have you heard anything more?
We've not, Dia. In fact, we're piecing together what happened by hearing from those hospitals, as you just mentioned, and combining that with what the police chief is telling us. I just heard you guys say that there are 8 gunshot victims at one of the hospitals, and so far the police chief tells us that there's just 10 to 15 people hurt, that 1 person has died. She's not giving us any other details than that. You know, we do know that a lot of children and families were down here, thousands of people. And if there's any silver lining in this, the police chief tells us she does not think any children were hurt. We wanted to make sure that people know that. There are 2 suspects, as we've been telling you, who are in custody. I did ask the police chief if those suspects are from the Kansas City area or if they came in from out of town. She says that's one of the things that she's looking into. We also addressed some rumors that are circulating on social media. There's a lot of chatter over whether or not some Chiefs fans actually helped take out one of these suspects. The police chief tells us that's something that she's currently looking into, so we're hoping that we're going to get that update in about 25 minutes. As we mentioned, we did hear from the police chief and Mayor Quentin Lucas about an hour ago. The mayor himself says that he was running for his life. Take a listen to how that press conference went just a few moments ago.
I'm incredibly upset, disappointed. I was there with my wife, I was there with my mother. We never would have thought that we, along with Chiefs players, along with fans, hundreds of thousands of people, would be forced to run for our safety today. I think that I'll let the investigation shake out before coming to any further conclusions, but I think the initial response absolutely is anger. You know, we have done a number of these now, and this is a day that a lot of people look forward to, something they remember for a lifetime. And what they shouldn't have to remember is the threat of gun violence, marring a day like this, injuring them and their families. This morning, I was actually thinking about bringing my child, as many people in Kansas City did. And I don't want us to have to, in our country, for every big event, think about a concern of being shot.
I'm angry at what happened today. The people who came to this celebration should expect a safe environment. We had over 800 law enforcement officers, Kansas City and other agencies, at the location to keep everyone safe. Because of bad actors, which were very few, this tragedy occurred, even in the presence of uniformed law enforcement officers.
And as you heard the chief there say, more than 800 police officers were on standby, and boy, are we grateful they were, because one of the things that the mayor focused on was how quick that response time was. He says as he was running, several police officers were running in the opposite direction, and that he watched them render aid to some of the victims. So as we mentioned, we're going to be getting an update in about 20 minutes here, and we're going to be out here for that. Dia, Cam, back to you guys in studio.
Thanks for that, Jessica.
We're continuing to hear more from Chiefs players. Charles O'Menahue tweeting this right here. Prayers for those affected at today's parade. A time of celebration ends in tragedy. When are we going to fix these gun laws? How many more people have to die to say enough is enough? It's too easy for the wrong people to obtain guns in America, and that's a fact.
A service called Iris is offering rides to people who can't get to their cars if they're still stuck there at Union Station, getting that information from the city communications service there. So Iris is offering rides for people who cannot get to their cars. We're going to go back out to Kevin Holmes and Caitlin Canute, who are there, and they've been there, I mean, since 6, 7 o'clock this morning, to go from broadcasting a heck of a parade, so much joy and jubilation across the city, to taking cover yourselves, and now standing by to bring us the very latest and help keep the community informed and safe. Any updates from you guys?
Not at present. We've been pushed back a little bit. The perimeter has extended a block or so from Kessler, kind of the parking garage for Union Station. That's where they have pushed back all the media. The mayor said something that kind of stood out, though. He said these are the moments that they will remember, that they're supposed to remember. That's what we said at the top of the parade. These were the moments, these moments that will last you a lifetime. Unfortunately, after this tragedy, these two are the moments that will last you a lifetime.
Yeah, kind of colors it in the wrong way. Dia was talking about people who can't get home because they can't get to their vehicles. And I just spoke to a mom, and they're actually sitting over here on the stairs by us, and her two, I mean, maybe a preteen and a child under 10, her two boys, and she said they can't get to their truck's in the crime scene area, and the boy's father, her husband, is on the other side, also in an area where he can't get to them. And so you think about families who have been separated and who can't get to their vehicles. We actually just saw a group that took safety in this apartment building right by us here as they were walking out. We asked them if they were okay, and they said yes, and we asked, and that's the bad part of our jobs, that we have to ask people, but we asked if they wanted to share their experience with us, and they said no, they were just too traumatized, and they were okay. They weren't physically hurt, but just seeing that, you never expect to see it in person, to witness something like that. And so you understand why all these people we talk to say that they've been so shaken by the experience.
Even people who necessarily weren't near the shots as they rung out, they are still shaken by this experience because, you know, just the sea of people leaving in a hurry, rushing, running, you know, some of the injuries sustained because of that. We heard about somebody breaking their leg, presumably because they were trying to escape and, you know, caught up in all of this with the hundreds of thousands of folks who were trying to leave after they just heard the gunshots.
And you heard Chief Stacey Graves saying they had a huge police presence here. Here's the irony. I sat and I looked around, and anytime you go to a large gathering anymore, that's in the back of your head. That's the reality of the world we live in. But I looked at law enforcement everywhere around us, and I felt safe, Kevin. I felt safe on that stage. The whole event had gone off, and it was over. It was over, and we were talking about it and how wonderful it was, and then just like that, it was that fast. And even with that many law enforcement officers present, who were fabulous and did run immediately to danger, it still happened.
And even at this hour, I mean, some hours after the end of that celebration, and then that celebration had turned into tragedy, still a very fluid scene. We can still see certain police officers here just trying to assess exactly what's happening and what has happened as folks are at the hospitals recovering. We do know at least one person has died, and we have a few others that are in critical condition.
I hate to sound cliche, but truly, I mean, we are praying for you. Even in the media, we are thinking of you, those of you who were injured, who were scared. We're right there with you, at least in terms of being scared. But, you know, thinking of those families who their lives will be forever changed after this experience. A quick note, if you left belongings inside there, they've pushed even the media back quite a bit. It's not just us, all of the stations here in town. And they're telling people if you come down here, it's going to be some time before they let anyone back in there to gather any belongings.
Yeah, we actually have some belongings back there of our own. They told us just take what you need. So we took a few of our bags just so that we can give you the latest and up-to-date reports as we learn more information. But we do have things stuck that maybe hours, if not days, until we're able to gather our belongings here.
And just on a personal note, just a shout out to our crews, and especially we have, we always joke you and I are kind of the old veterans of the newsroom, but we had some young reporters who, and I'm going to get choked up again, who were scared and they were worried about their families, and they went out. They went out to do their jobs, and I'm so proud of them. Daniela Leon walked by, and Gian, and Abby, and Mackenzie, and even when it was a scary situation, they jumped in and did their jobs too. So to all of you, we're so proud of you, and we're proud you're part of our team.
Yeah, 41, we truly are a family, but today, Kansas City, we all are a family standing strong as we grieve the loss, as we grieve the people who are recovering at hospitals. We pray for their recovery, and we're just wrapping our arms around Kansas City today.
Absolutely. Well, we don't have any new information to report at this time other than it's a very active scene. They're still investigating. So Kevin and Cameron and Dia, it's been a long day. Thank you for holding down the fort there and passing along that information in real time. We've been following you on Twitter and social media and work emails as well, and we appreciate the work all of you are doing back in the studio too.
All right,
thanks back to you while we work to gather more info.
Kevin, Caitlin, you take care of yourselves out there. We're trying to bring you, again, as many updates as we can. We've gotten the latest update from University Health. They have 8 gunshot victims there. 2 of them are in critical condition right now. That's a level 1 trauma unit in this city. So they're doing a lot of work out here, just trying to make sure that they're treating the victims and bringing information. We're awaiting that press conference in about 15 minutes as well.
And just to recap here, Police Chief Stacey Graves saying 10 to 15 people possibly shot. We know several of those people are already at the hospital. 1 person has died in all of this. Now, what we don't know yet, how old were these people? Who are these people? I think those are the stories that we're going to find out soon as these people have been identified. But again, we've got about 15 minutes or so before the police give us another update here. And I know people want answers.
A lot of us do. A lot of us do. And I'm getting so many messages from people in real time sitting here, from families who have EMTs that are rushing to hospitals where they work. They had the day off. They were enjoying the parade, enjoying Valentine's Day with their families and friends, and then they have to staff and man all of these ambulances we saw flooding into Union Station earlier today, for all the people who had to rush away. Just seeing so many messages of those first responders who had to be out there in a moment that was very tense, very critical. And we had no idea, and we're still trying to confirm the number of victims, how many people have been affected, and most importantly, to really grieve the life that has already been lost.
Absolutely. We know that this community will never be the same. I think you are feeling a range of emotions right now. You're seeing grief, you're seeing anger. We heard from the mayor and the police chief, both angry that a day of celebration turned into this, a nightmare.
We're bringing you video from earlier this afternoon of the family there. In the moments after, no doubt, their loved ones have been transported to the hospital and they're waiting for those updates. Megan Abundis earlier talked about somebody being airlifted, no doubt in need of more critical care.
And that means it's serious.
And so this is something that, again, we are working as quickly as possible. Caitlin mentioned it there. We have crews all over the place. Mick Schaefer is walking into the studio right now. He's been on the air essentially since 6 or 7 this morning, alongside Mackenzie Nelson.
Absolutely. Let's get to her right now. She's in the newsroom. Hey, Mac.
What Caitlin and Kevin were saying just a bit ago when you talked with them, Caitlin and I have been texting saying everything happened so fast that we really haven't come out of that initial shock. But I also want to add, she talks so highly of our reporters, running out to gather information about this story. When we hit the deck and we were taking cover, our photojournalist, Al Miller, was safely filming what was happening so that we're able to bring you these images right now on your screens, and it just was all so fast. Everything happened so fast. We heard shots ring out from all areas. And I also wanted to point out, we showed that video earlier of it looked like fans that were maybe just enjoying the parade, tackling what might have been a suspect or someone that was involved. And I saw something on social media earlier today that said, it's that video of those fans reacting in a time of need that really showcases.
It sounds like we lost Mackenzie Nelson's microphone there. This is video of someone running and being tackled by what looks to be parade goers. We need to let you know that we're not 100% sure what's transpiring in this video right now. Nothing has been confirmed by law enforcement, but we have seen this circulating on social media of people saying, hey, this looks like one of the shooters and parade goers tackled that person, but we do not have that information confirmed. We did want to show it to you, though. It is circulating, it's out there, but we're still trying to get some sort of context from police. We got a statement in from the Kansas City Chiefs, and they say they're truly saddened by the senseless act of violence that occurred outside of Union Station at the conclusion of today's parade and rally. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and all of Kansas City. They say they're in close communication with the mayor's office as well as the Kansas City Police Department. They have confirmed that all of their players, coaches, staff, and families are safe and accounted for. And they ended by saying they want to thank local law enforcement and first responders who were on scene to assist. No doubt that's not the way they thought the day would go for them.
Absolutely not. And we're all thankful that so many officers as well as first responders were there to address what happened in seconds.
We're still working again to bring you as much information as possible. This is the scene when the shooting happened and everything started to unfold. This is video taken earlier today.
You could see officers running in. We saw this right as we got into the air, trying to figure out what was happening. I think there was a lot of confusion. There was chaos. You had families separated. We know that a mom, we heard from one of our reporters, was separated from her son for an hour. I mean, can you imagine being separated from your child when all of this is going on?
We are getting just updates by the minute. There's a few things circulating from Children's Mercy. I'm going to wait until I see those things for myself before we bring them to you here live. So I know that there's a lot of information out there, everybody. I just want you to hang in with us, okay? Give us some time. We're trying to calm the seas and keep everybody informed as best we can. It's more important that we're right and clear and bringing you the most up-to-date and correct information, then we bring it to you first.
There's a lot of information out there, and we're trying to verify it. It takes time. We want the answers in seconds. I know we all do, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer just to make those phone calls, those emails, just to make sure it's correct, because we don't want to put any wrong information out there.
That image that was just on your screen, that was a live picture in front of police headquarters downtown. We're waiting for that press conference in about 9 minutes. But now we're going to go to Elise Schoenig, who's live for us there near Union Station where the parade route at.
You can just give me 1 second. So yeah, if you guys can hear me okay now, we're live here on Grand and Pershing. We're still watching some people who are walking around. So I ran into Darla and Marissa, mother and daughter here. They were actually just starting to leave the scene at Union Station when they heard and saw sort of what had happened. I kind of want you guys just to take me back. You said originally when you guys were walking, you did at first hear what sounded like gunshots, right?
Yes, yeah, and I wasn't sure if it was like explosions from like cannons or like fireworks or whatever, but I mean no one was really reacting, but I thought I heard something, and then we heard that shots were fired through the police radio, so then it kind of got real. So,
and just what went through your head when you guys were leaving the celebrations, the parade had just happened. What went through your head when you realized that this was real?
Just a lot of shock, honestly. It's just crazy that this is what the world's come to.
And then you were saying too that you had went into Crown Center after, and what did you see when you went into Crown Center after?
We went all the way down to the Chinese restaurants where there wasn't a lot of customers, and when we sat down and were eating, people were running by in the hallway. I didn't know what they were running from. I wasn't sure if there was like a fight right there, or I didn't really know where west meant when I heard that over the radio.
Yeah. And have you guys? Is this your first time coming to the Super Bowl parade?
First time for the parade, yeah.
So I guess just walk me through, and it is just so unfortunate that this had to be the way that this magnificent
is not Kansas City. This isn't Kansas City. We don't do this.
Yeah, it's just sad to see it.
And I just mentioned to her, look at all the nationalities, and everybody gets along over football. Spoke too soon.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys. I hope that you can try to just decompress and just hold each other closely throughout the rest of your day out here. Thank you so much for speaking with us, and I'm so glad that you both are okay. Thank you so much. I do know that if my photographer can pan things over here, we had mentioned earlier that this street was closed. It looks open. I did just speak with a Kansas City police officer who said that it is open for police cars only. So he doesn't even know. It might be down down toward 13th Street when it's actually open to regular traffic. But as of right now, please still stay away from this area. Police are asking. They have yellow tape up along this intersection. So just remember again to please stay away from this area as police are asking and are blocking off still as well. We'll go ahead and send things back to you all for now. We're still monitoring people who are standing around here and just trying to make sure everyone is okay. And we'll continue to bring you those stories and updates as we learn them. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Elise. And we do want to share one update from Children's Mercy. They say they have 12 patients, 11 are kids, 9 with gunshot wounds.
Say it again.
12 patients, 11 are kids, 9 with gunshot wounds.
You all need to take that in, because that's every single one of our responsibility. Mick?
Hey guys, yeah, so we were, shout out by the way to Elise.
Yes.
And Megan and Caitlin and Kevin and Al Miller and Kyle Haas, and I'm missing a few guys out there, guys and gals. I think Danielle is still out there and Steve as well, for staying out there, and they're right in the middle of it. We were all right in the middle of it when it happened, and they continue to report on, it's crazy. Elise went out there to cover this huge event. It's 2 events, right? This huge event that was so positive, and now it's this huge event that's so negative, and so many of those guys and gals were out there at 4, 5, and 6 in the morning, and they're going to be out there 4, 5, and 6 o'clock tonight because of what transpired today. Our point of view, to me, it seemed like there were 3 different scenes. Right? You had the shooting, the number of shots fired while we were on the air. I didn't hear them. We had the headphones on, and people were relaying to us, okay, something's happening. We saw everybody running. And then later, people started running out of Union Station. That's the video I shot there of all the police officers running into Union Station. Something happened in there. Later, we saw somebody being wheeled out on a stretcher. You see from both, from both sides of the stage. Cops are streaming into Union Station. So that seemed like really kind of like the second scene to me. And then the third one was probably several minutes later. It sounded like a gunshot, just not far out of screen there, right behind the NFL Network site set they had there. There's the video right there. And you see more police convening on that area there. It looked like it was kind of at the top of the stairs that leads down to the Union Station parking garage. Something transpired there. So from my point of view, and I might be off, right? All these eyewitness points of view aren't always the same, but it seemed like there were 3 separate incidences. Maybe not all involving gunshots, but it seemed like definitely something happened inside Union Station, as well as the gunshot we heard later.
Mick, we've got some information coming in. We just got an update from St. Luke saying they have 1 shooting victim there. 4 others are being treated for injuries from fleeing. We're also expecting a press conference coming up from University Health at 5:15. That's in a little under 20 minutes. They're going to have the CEO and their medical director, so we should get some more information.
And right here, in just minutes, we should be hearing from Kansas City Police again. They're expected to have another update. We're hoping for some more details, some more answers. I know all of you are waiting for that as well. That should be coming up at about 5 o'clock, give or take a few minutes.
I know we got a statement from Congresswoman Sharice Davids of Kansas. It's supposed to be coming in, but we haven't received it just yet. When we get it, we'll put it up on the screen so that way you can see it for yourself. We're just really working to bring you the most up-to-date information. And Mick, you're there.
Yeah.
People are there with our families, you're celebrating, and you see the kids. I mean, you guys are out there taking photos with them to know that, a dozen children?
So many kids out there, probably even more than normal, because they were wanting a pop star to show up, right? And there was rumors that she might be there, and we take pride in all the people that show up to these parades.
Yeah.
For a town our size, we'll bring 500,000 people out to celebrate the Chiefs 3 times, the Royals 1 time. But that's a lot of people there, right? And when something like this happened, you mentioned all the injuries from people running away. Stuff like that's going to occur. People have been out there all day long, a lot of them drinking, running away. You're having injuries from that as well. And then, of course, the gunshots and the people, the kids in the hospital is just the worst news right there. And,
absolutely. Mick, you've had a slight moment to catch your breath, a slight moment, I'll say. What's going through your mind at this point?
I mean, look, there were a lot of us up there on, so we have we get inside the ropes, right? Because we are a partner with the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's great for our coverage. We got the jib arms in there. We're inside the ropes. We're interviewing all these athletes, and it's a big, big day for us. So we're on the podium. We're the closest to the stage of anybody. We have a great view. All the reporters, after they're done, they come up on the stage and watch. So there's a number of people up there with us. And once everybody started running out of Union Station, that's when we knew, okay, maybe whatever happened moments ago isn't over with. So that's when we were told, like, get off the air. We're gonna take cover. And we got down there. I can't say I ever felt that my life was in danger. Maybe I should have. But at that time right there, when cops are running in, you realize you have no idea what's going on. In the end, we'll come out and maybe, like they said, it's one shooter, two shooters, they got in a fight or whatever. But at that time, you have no idea the scope of this thing, how big it could be. So that's racing through your mind to where you're like, okay, this is a big unknown at this point.
A lot of confusion right there. I mean, I can only imagine all of the people right there. I mean, Caitlin and Kevin were talking about people leaving their strollers, their chairs. That talks about the urgency. So much stuff is left back. My
backpack's left back there. I have a couple coats and everything, and maybe the crew got them, maybe they didn't, because we walked out to the shuttle, Mackenzie and I, and once I got past the perimeter, I realized they're not going to let me back in. That is a crime scene right there that we were in the middle of for so long, and we were the only ones there. And the police officers who were so cooperative with us, with our badges on and everything, let us continue to broadcast for a while until you saw that Caitlin and Kevin needed to get out of there, and rightfully so. So I wasn't able to get back in there. I'm the sports guy and everything, but I'm willing to lend a hand and grab a camera, grab a microphone, whatever is necessary, because this is, such an awful deal, but such a big deal, and it's going to take, a few days, right, to unwrap all this and what occurred there today.
I think it bears repeating, Children's Mercy alone took 12 patients, 11 of them are children, and 9 of them have gunshot wounds out of the Chiefs Super Bowl parade.
It's different than what we heard in the press conference, correct?
Yes.
So this is the latest info. We just got it minutes ago.
I just want to caution people at home. We got to be patient. We got to give people time to work. I know we want answers. We're fighting to get those answers for you. But this is going to continue to evolve, and we're going to be with you every step of the way. We're waiting on that press conference from Kansas City Police and the mayor. We also have an update from Congresswoman Sharice Davids that we'll bring you. But right now, we're all going to take a breath. We're going to reset, and we'll see you back here in just a moment.
This is not Kansas City.
Everyone started running out of the building, and you could hear people yelling, active shooter, active shooter.
All of a sudden, it was like a scramble of the crowd.
We definitely heard the shot. The girl next to me, where my daughter was standing with her husband, was shot.
I was there with my wife. I was there with my mother. We never would have thought we'd be forced to run for our safety today.
I'll cry it out. I'll do what I need to once I reach my husband and my family, my loved ones.
The lady next to me, she has some blood on her.
Probably the worst feeling I've ever felt.
And I tried to just hold her so nothing would happen to her.
We continue to follow breaking news for you tonight here on KSHB 41 News. Several people are hurt. One person is dead, including children, after shots were fired near the parking garage at Union Station. I need to clarify, there is not confirmation that a child has died. We know that one person has died. This entire situation unfolded at 1:25 p.m., just minutes after the Chiefs Kingdom Champions parade rally wrapped up. Hundreds of thousands of fans were still gathered in the area, then started running for cover, jumping barricades, and ducking for their safety, including our KSHB 41 crew.
And as Dia just mentioned, right now we know one person was killed. Police saying at least 10 to 15 people were hurt. We are working to learn if that number will increase. We know patients were taken to Children's Mercy and University Health. Children's Mercy saying it's treating 12 patients. 11 are children. 9 have gunshot wounds. 2 people who were armed have been arrested.
When those shots were fired, we saw dozens of police officers rushing into Union Station. That's where the Chiefs were and where many ran for safety. Now, we are told that everyone on the team is safe, including coaches and players and staff and their families. But police did ask fans to exit as quickly and as safely as possible.
The White House has called and offered federal assistance in the investigation. Now, police are asking for witnesses to go to the corner of Pershing and Main. If you have any information, did you see something? Did you hear something? We've spent the afternoon talking with people who were there when shots were fired.
And at first we thought it was fireworks, and then we began to see people move and running around. Yeah. And one of the shooters were like literally behind us in a tan jacket, and one of the Rangers had his guns drawn, and he was running out. And then a guy had pointed towards my direction, but he was behind me. The shooter was behind me, and when the Ranger saw that, the guy took off, boom, right into the crowd in front of us, and then everyone being able, started panicking and stuff like that. But we got right out. We got out just in time.
We're waiting for police Chief Stacey Graves, as well as Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas. This is a live picture of the front of the police headquarters downtown. That press conference should start any minute. As soon as it begins, we'll bring that to you live.
People are just wanting answers here, Dia, and I think we know this takes time. It could take days, weeks, months. But let's go out to our anchors, Kevin Holmes and Caitlin Canute. You guys were there when the shots were fired. What are you seeing? What are you hearing now?
Well, now it's pretty much just an active crime scene. So they're investigating the threat, long over. It's interesting. You were talking about some of the police officers, though, and we talked to them, initially to ask, are we okay? Do we need to move? Is the threat over? What can you tell us? And as they were escorting us from the scene, you could tell they were heartbroken. They were disgusted that something that was such a happy, celebratory day in Kansas City ended so tragically. And you can see it on their faces. It's just kind of disbelief that this happened here on this day.
This was supposed to be a high point for Chiefs Kingdom. You had folks come from far and wide, from states away, to celebrate what was supposed to be the highest of highs for our area, and instead it turned into the lowest of lows, of tragedy, where several kids were caught in the crossfire.
That's what gets me, and Dia and Cameron have been doing a great job relaying that information, but hearing that you have 12 at Children's Mercy, 11 of them are kids, and 9 of them had gunshot wounds. Unbelievable. And our crews have talked to families who have said their 15-year-old daughter was shot in the leg, or, was grazed by a bullet, and we're getting those reports, and we don't even know the extent of it. I want to mention the county prosecutor, Gene Peters Baker, stopped by, gave us a hug, checked in on us. And as far as the police response goes, truly, they were prepared. They had a huge law enforcement presence here, so it wasn't for lack of them being here and being prepared. In fact, they ran to the scene. I tweeted this out. As we were ducking for cover and hiding behind that news desk, they were running into that building. They were running to wherever the threat was. Their response was incredible.
But to hear some of the reports, especially from some of our crews on the ground, to talk with people that had blood on their articles of clothing because they were so close to some of the victims, that is what's so disgusting and so saddening from a moment just like this.
And as far as you asked about the scene, behind us, and again, if you're just joining us, I know we've said this, but it bears repeating in case you're just joining us. You see baby strollers, you see kids' blankets, you see children's folding chairs that people just left. I'm sure there are phones and wallets and people just in a panic left. We talked to one, I don't remember if he was a police officer or a state trooper, who had to borrow my phone after it happened because he ran so quickly to where the shots were being fired. He had lost his phone. He had to check in with dispatch. That tells you, just it gives you an idea of the chaos.
So now it still is a fluid scene, and as Dia and Cameron mentioned earlier, some of these numbers are evolving, some of them are changing, so bear with us as we work to get the latest details. In fact, we were on that stage that was just a stone's throw from the stage where Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and several of the players were, and we tried to bring you the most detailed information. That too then became part of the crime scene, so we were pushed back and back as they still try to investigate what happened.
We will stay out here. We will continue to gather details. Right now, we're getting the most information really from our crews who have managed to talk to people who were there. But we're waiting to get any reports from police here at our location. We'll certainly pass that back to you as soon as we get it. And just thinking of those families who have been impacted, thinking of those who are injured. We know at least one dead. Thinking of that family left grieving tonight.
Indeed. I know in the meantime, there are still some family members waiting to be reunited with their family members because they're on the other side of the memorial, on the other side of Union Station, or because they can't get to their vehicle because their vehicle is now in the midst of this crime scene that's behind us.
And much like many of you at home, we were wondering what happened, where were the locations. I heard Mick, he was on the stage with us, obviously, talking about what it seemed to him, and it truly did seem as though there were shots coming from one location. Something happened inside Union Station. We don't know what because they came running out. And then it seemed as though there was something on the other side. So a lot of questions right now. We're waiting to learn where it happened, what happened, just like many of you.
Yes, indeed. And we're glad the 41 crew is safe. Moments after the shots rang out, several of us had to take to the ground, and all is well here amongst KSHB 41, but we are grieving along with everyone here in the KC Metro after such a jovial day turned tragic.
Cameron, Dia, we'll toss things back to you there in the studio.
Caitlin, Kevin, thank you. We have a statement from the Kansas City Chiefs which reads, "We're truly saddened by the senseless act of violence that occurred outside of Union Station at the conclusion of today's parade and rally. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and all of Kansas City." We're in close communication with the mayor's office as well as the Kansas City Police Department. They confirm that all of their players, coaches, staff, and their families are safe and accounted for. And they end their statement by thanking local law enforcement and first responders who were on the scene there to assist.
I really think it bears repeating. I am so glad our crews are safe. They ducked for cover. Some of them even continued doing their job, speaking with people. And we're praying and grieving with the families who were impacted tonight. I mean, this has impacted the entire Kansas City community. It's something, unfortunately, we will always remember.
We want to go to some of those people who were there on the scene when those shots rang out and chaos ensued.
Actually, the children that we know and physically in our family are in Children's Mercies right now. Her leg is broken.
We just found out that her leg is broken, and so now we're just praying around the grounds because we can't go in. So
From what?
I guess from running of the. It's more like a stampede. I'm thinking is what was happening. A lot. We saw people getting picked up, men, women gathering their kids immediately, so that way they can get out the way.
The only thing that you can do is you resort back into your hope. Where your hope lies, you can only be like, okay, God, something has to change now. I mean, it's crazy to go from celebrating to having a painful experience where people are passing away or dying or being, stampeded and hurt and harmed. God led us back down here to begin to pray, and everything is foundational in prayer.
You described it as your worst nightmare when that happened. Is that accurate?
Yes, it can be a nightmare. Your children, you never want your children to ever go through this. You don't want anybody to ever, be hurt. I mean, Kansas City is such an amazing place, and we want everybody to be safe at all times. But to the fact that you can go from that to gunshots being gone off, and you're thinking there's fireworks, but it's gunshots and somebody's getting killed. I mean, it's a nightmare. But we're here to spread hope through prayer.
Said to her, I think that was something over there, and she's like, oh, it's fine, Heather, it's fine. And then I saw yellow vests like running and people running, and I'm like, I don't think it's fine.
It was such a great, fun environment until that moment.
Just so disappointing because we are major Chiefs fans, and we just wanted to celebrate with everybody else.
I probably won't come to the parade again. It makes me so sad. It's my third one, and love it. Like, we spread love in Kansas City, and I can't believe it happened here. I'm so sad. It's not in our city. Like, I just didn't expect this to happen here.
None of us did.
Nobody did, and this is not Kansas City.
We're going to go out to Megan Abundis, who is live for us at University Health. We're waiting a press conference. Megan, hopefully an update on the condition of the victims who are being treated there. I know you've been alongside their families. Please bring us the latest.
We're hoping to get an update in the next few minutes here from hospital staff. They have said that they're treating 8 people with gunshot wounds from Union Station, and 2 of those victims are in critical condition, and they say 4 others have non-gunshot injuries. I mean, just to think about the pure number of people who have come through this hospital through an ambulance, and all of their family members here who have been awaiting answers. I mean, we saw large groups of people in Chiefs uniform waiting outside the emergency room because there wasn't enough room to get in the doors. So they were taken to the chapel around the corner so they could reconnect with their family members. I mean, we're expecting to hear from the chief clinical executive officer to talk about the conditions of these people. It's truly heartbreaking to hear that people are saying this is their last parade, or this has affected them in a way that they can never forget. I mean, yeah, it's sad to think about. So we're going to give you that update in just a couple of minutes to go, and we'll give you the latest there.
Thanks, Megan, for that update. We are expected to hear from Police Chief Stacey Graves and Mayor Quinton Lucas within the next few minutes. We'll have a live picture of that, and here it is right there. Any minute now. This press conference is supposed to start at 5. We're 12 minutes past the hour now. Give or take a few minutes. This is what happens in a situation like this. They're probably gathering information, so we have the latest.
And another thing to note, we're again expecting that live update from University Health. Whichever is live first, I assume we will bring you on the air, but I assure you we will record the other press conference, and we're going to bring you those updates live from our first responders, live from law enforcement, the mayor, the people who are treating the victims, really to try to help this city calm and start to move forward and hopefully heal a little bit.
And there's just been so much information out there. And again, we want to stress we are trying to verify every piece of information that comes into our newsroom. It does take time, sometimes longer than we would like, but we try to bring it to you as soon as we have it.
Someone did message me and said, you know, we need to go to Megan Abundis.
They are walking out.
All right, guys, we're going to leave this shot.
An update here. They're regrouping.
Yeah, she's here. She's going to talk. It's scheduled for.
Okay, we're going to leave this video up for you. Actually, this is a live picture. We're going to leave this up for you. They're getting set to begin this press conference. This will be the first update we've had on victims, their condition, and what happens next. But we're going to get you up to speed here. We have one person who was killed in the shooting at the Chiefs Parade today. 10 to 15 people minimum hurt. I do expect that number to increase just based on updates we're getting from our local hospitals. There are 12 patients at Children's Mercy, 11 of them children, and nine kids have gunshot wounds after going to the Chiefs Parade today. 2 people who were armed are now in custody. Cameron has mentioned Chief Graves called them suspects. So we are looking forward to getting more information from her on where that investigation stands.
And I think a lot of people want to know, who are these people? Do they live here in the Kansas City area? What was their intent? And I don't think we're going to get all of those answers in this next press conference, but we might get some of them.
You know, Megan has described for us all afternoon how high the emotions are there outside the hospital. Imagine going from that celebratory moment to your loved one being transported to the hospital to standing outside on the curb waiting for information, just any sliver or shred of hope that everything's going to be okay. And now we're going to be able to get answers from the people inside working to save lives today.
And this is something most people have never experienced in their lives. I think that's where the trauma comes in, right? I think we talk about this a lot. We see it in other communities, but this happened here in our community.
Oh boy, Union Station looks a lot more somber. Kevin often calls it the living room of Kansas City, a place we gather for the NFL draft or for a parade. And we have Elise
It's where
Schoenig.
A lot of visitors go, you know. I take my own family there. But let's head out to Elise Schoenig now.
Yeah, guys, you know, you're centering all these conversations I'm hearing you two having there back at the desk, Dia and Cameron, about just how much we love and celebrate and cherish Union Station and Kansas City and all the celebrations we bring here. And, you know, as I'm looking out here right now, if we can kind of pan over here, I'm looking on my right side where the road is still closed off, where there's still some police vehicles and law enforcement, and then just directly to the left there's a street that's filled with, you know, leftover cans from the parade, some confetti, people who were driving. It literally almost feels like it's the tale of two cities. It's honestly hard to even remember that there was a parade today, and again, it's just evident in the fact the way that's split, where I see a leftover parade scene and then the leftover scene from a tragedy. Once again, touching on just the roads out here. This one still is blocked off, and then over here to my right, I did just see a car that was not a police car drive through, so it does appear that roads are starting to open again. It's honestly feeling completely still and quiet right now, which is obviously very different compared to what it felt like earlier today and this morning, and just there was, you know, so much noise. And I think that's something that I really want to touch on, is that I think the only thing I can describe more than anything right now is the silence, and I think that
you going to be able to get the shot?
See if there's any players inside. We're still waiting.
How is it set up?
Two speakers. I just kind of do. I think that's. You guys look at all stick mics. Yeah, it's only gonna be stick mics.
Stick mics.
It's probably too windy to go with a lob, isn't it? Yeah.
All right, we are here to give another update. Again, I'm Mayor Quentin Lucas. I am joined by Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves, the Kansas City Fire Chief Ross Grundison. One thing that we want to note at the outset, the situation continues to have updates. Things will continue to change throughout the night. That's why we are here to give you an update right now. The chief, both chiefs, will be giving more information both on the numbers of victims, the status of victims. The chief of police will give more updates on the investigation. A few things to note that we talked about earlier. In terms of who was in danger, what existed, it is my view, as someone who did have to run at the sound of shooting, that there were a number of people who were, in the very least, caught up in the incident in some way. Myself, my wife, lots of families, players, chief staff, and others, their spouses, their families, a number of people who were in or near a Union Station. So many people have been touched by this incident, and we recognize that. We also pray not only for the victims, including the decedent that was discussed earlier and their family, but also the victims of the shootings right now who we hope are recovering inside our hospitals. We'll continue to give you updated information. At this point, we've talked to our federal partners. We have also talked to the Kansas City Chiefs. We will be talking to the National Football League and others. More so just to hear that all are safe who are with those institutions, and we continue to hope that all of those who are impacted are safe. To the extent you have information about suspects or others, we do encourage you to call the police. However, if for whatever other reasons you have information about the incident, we will be looking to share that through different methods. So if you have information about the incident, suspects and others, please call the police. If you're looking for other information, we'll try to continue to give you regular updates. I'll say this final thing and then we'll come back for questions at the end. Today was tragic for everyone who was part of it. I had the chance to talk to my wife just a moment ago, who said we became part of a statistic of too many Americans. those who have experienced or been part of or connected to a mass shooting. That is something that I hope we all recognize is highly problematic for all of us. I continue to commend our police officers, our firefighters, and others who are there to respond instantly, but we also need to figure out a way to make sure that things like this stop happening in our country. With that, I turn it over to the Chief of Police, Stacey Graves.
Thank you. I just want to echo the mayor's thoughts and his prayers, and also to acknowledge that not only the victims who were actually hit by gunfire, but there are a lot more people who are going to be forever impacted by what happened here today. You know, as people were running, you know, a lot of us law enforcement who are running towards the danger also guided those who were in fear of their lives, and that's something to be said of how impactful today's event truly was. Again, we have confirmed there is one deceased person. Our gunshot wound total has went up to 22, and Chief Grundison will provide a little bit more context to that. Right now, we're still working on a total of number of victims. This is still an active investigation. I do want to comment on the question that I got earlier about a video of some fans tackling someone. We do have 3 persons detained and under investigation for today's incident. We are working to determine if one of the 3 are the one that was in that video where fans assisted police. Our investigators are working with all of the surviving victims to connect them with loved ones. We are also working to identify our deceased victim so we can notify their family as soon as possible. We are also in the process of staffing a centralized phone number. This centralized phone number will be for those who are victims, witnesses, and if anyone has video or any information about what led up to what happened here today. Again, we are continuously receiving information minute by minute, which is part of the delay of us coming down here. But I do want to pass this on to Chief Grundison to give a little bit more context to some of the status of our victims.
Just want to say that all of KCFD's thoughts and prayers are with those families that were affected by this tragedy today. And while we were not expecting it, we were ready and prepared for an event such like this. Our KCFD units, along with our mutual aid partners that were working to assist us at this event, touched a total of 22 gunshot victims. One of those was a fatality. We had 8 what we considered immediately life-threatening patients. We had 7 with life-threatening injuries, and we had 6 that had minor injuries. Of the most serious, the immediately life-threatening injuries, we had 8 of those. Those were all transported and off the scene en route to hospitals within 10 minutes. So we felt the response was certainly adequate and appropriate, and I commend all our staff working there today, along with PD, that did an excellent job under difficult circumstances. We transported 3 different hospitals. We transported Children's Mercy, Truman Medical, and also St. Luke's on the Plaza.
Questions?
Yeah, so we're getting...
Who are you asking?
Anyone that can answer the question. So we've heard people talk about gunshots that they heard near the west side of Union Station, and then also gunfire and situations that happened near the fountain and the stoplight over there near the intersection of Bershing. Was there 2 separate scenes? Was there one big scene? Do you know the answer to that question?
That is still an active scene. That is a large ground to cover, as you know, the size of the Union Station. I will tell you, we have located that crime scene on the west side of Union Station. As far as in the front of, that is still under investigation. We have crime scene investigators as well as the detectives. We had a lot of our assault squad detectives and our homicide detectives that were actually in uniform today working the assignment. So not only did you have uniform presence immediately responding to the scene, rendering aid, going towards danger, but you also had detectives that were immediately on the scene that are still there and actively working.
Are you investigating any sort of connection with the earlier shooting in the day at 27th and McGee?
At this time, we don't know if that's connected, but that is something that we are looking at.
Children's Mercy says that they want parents to contact them if they don't know where their children are. Do you know that there may be, like, are there kids there who don't have a parent? Or?
I can tell you we have detectives at all of the local hospitals that are investigating, like I said earlier, trying to connect our victims to their loved ones. Should that be the case and it's a child, someone can either contact police, or if that is what Children's Mercy is requesting, of course they can contact them as well.
Is there anything you can say about motive?
Right now we do not have a motive, but we are asking those who may potentially have any kind of information, a witness or video, to contact police. That's one of that, what I talked about, that phone number that we're setting up that's going to be centralized for victims, witnesses, and potential video evidence.
Any age range on the person who died?
I do not have that yet.
Learned of a second gunshot victim who died from family. Is that development?
I have not been able to confirm another death.
You mentioned that there were some victims taken to Children's Mercy Hospital. I understood from staff at Children's Mercy Hospital that they received, they have 9 shooting victims, and it's possible that one of them was an adult. Do you know how many children were shot, if it was 8 or 9? And when we're talking children, are we talking about little ones or 17-year-olds?
Children's accepts patients up to 17 years old. Children's accepts patients up to 17 years old, and but we do not have that information currently on the exact ages of the
But you do believe that
patients
the children that were shot?
Yeah, I mean, Children's confirming we did transport to Children's Mercy, but we do not have the ages of those patients.
Mayor, how scary. You had over 800 officers deployed to work this parade, to work outside of Union Station, and still in a matter of moments, 22 people were shot.
I mean, that's what happens with guns. I won't get in a big debate right now. I think we're still doing an investigation, but I mean, what you saw happen was why people talk about guns a lot. We had over 800 officers there, staffed, situated all around Union Station today. We had security in any number of places, eyes on top of buildings and beyond. And there still is a risk to people. And I think that's something that all of us who are parents, who are just regular people living each day, have to decide what we wish to do about it. Parades, rallies, schools, movies, it seems like almost nothing is safe. And we had hundreds of law enforcement there working hard today. And I do want to echo what the chief said, who are running towards danger. But in a matter of seconds, someone who wants to disrupt anything, someone who wants to create any type of situation, or someone who is very simply reckless, can change not just one life or 2 lives, but almost 24. And that to me is absolutely devastating. And it makes me feel vastly more concerned as a parent just in the world today thinking about that.
Chief Graves, can you tell us more about how you were able to detain those 2 individuals who clearly caused so much harm?
What was the question?
Can you tell us more about how you were able to take those 2 suspects into custody?
Uniformed officers were on scene. I don't have all the information of exactly what they witnessed, but there was a pursuit, apprehension, slight injuries by our officers taking someone into custody. But as far as you're directly answering your question, I don't have that information right now.
Chief Graves, you have 2 gunmen in custody.
We were talking about weapons earlier. Can you tell me how many and what type of weapons were involved?
I don't have the exact on the weapons, but we have recovered firearms. I don't have a number for you or a caliber. We have recovered firearms. At least 1.
Okay.
Chief Graves, you have 2 gunmen in custody. Do you believe there are any others still unaccounted for?
We have 3 people that we have detained. And that is what we are asking for, is if anyone has any information, is a witness or has any kind of video that may provide us if there is anybody else that was involved in this.
Is there a risk to the community at this point?
No, at this time, the scene has been cleared. It's being held. And when I say cleared, I say the scene has been made safe and it's been cleared. Right now, we are in the investigative portion of that, collecting evidence, whether that be digital evidence or physical evidence. That is what we're doing right now, and we're also conducting interviews. Obviously, we have several victims that we need to have a conversation with, to ask questions. Also, witnesses. So there's a lot of work ahead in this. This is just the beginning stages, but we're moving as fast as we can.
Can you explain that there was like a 5 minutes between the first shots and the second?
All of that has not been determined just yet. The number of shots, the time in between them, the motive, all of that is still actively being investigated.
So we don't know if there were two separate scenes. We don't know the answer to that at this point.
I cannot confirm that yet.
And just, did I miss this? Was this inside or outside Union Station?
This was all outside Union Station.
And you did say that third person
Thank you.
might have just been somebody who was helping police. I just want to make sure I'm right with my facts. You said you have 3 people in custody.
We have 3 people that are detained for investigation.
Okay. All right. Get my mic and put this coat on. I don't think Sydney made it back. I need to get your breakdown.